Race fans, the 100% Cup Series welcomes you to Chicagoland, where the all-stars of the series are going to duke it out to get that checkered flag. Before we get there, we got to run the Open to figure out who's going to be in that race. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm Andre Graham Bush, joined alongside Corey Silva, and some special guests in the booth this week. We've got Dustin Hall and Cameron Stone. They're normally drivers in the 100% Cup Series. You might recognize them on track, but they're already locked into the all-star race this week, so they don't have to race the Open, don't have to race their way in, so they decided to make their way up to the booth. Dustin, Cam, glad to have you guys.
Thank you.
Glad to be here, Andre.
I knew that was going to happen. I set you up for it perfectly.
Yeah. I'm the Harvick. He's the Logano of the group.
I'll smile. I got a Coors Light in hand already. Shout out to the sponsors tonight. We're going to pregame this one pretty good, and hopefully we'll have a good run out there in our All-Star race later tonight.
Noted. Avoid the 57.
I'll definitely avoid the 57.
Now, Cam, that Coors Light, it's actually full of water, right? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
I mean, it is water either way, isn't it?
Oh, okay. So now
it's only 5.7% not water.
That sounds reasonable to me. Anyways, we got about 30 seconds left before we get into the qualifying session for the actual Open race. But Dustin and Cam, the reason we actually have you guys in the booth is because, well, Corey and I are a little bit too lazy to explain the format for tonight's All-Star race. So, Dustin, why don't you take it away with the format, explain it for the fans at home.
Oh, you put me right on the spot. Let me get that pulled up. Basically, obviously, several of us drivers are locked in to the All-Star event tonight. Those are, if I remember correctly, previous winners, previous playoff contenders from the previous year, and I believe that's it. Am I right there, Cam?
I believe it's what they used this year. They've done it differently because we've added people over time, but this year is former playoff drivers plus some race winners.
All right. Now the rest will all fall into this Open, the All-Star Open. The way that's all going to crack out, there will be 3 stages of 20 laps each for a total of 60 laps. Basically, what they will do is at the end of each stage, that winner will be removed from the race, and they will be locked into the All-Star event later tonight. So the winner of the first stage, winner of the second stage, and then at the end of the third stage, last 20 lap stint, they will take the top 2 from that final stage, and those 4 drivers will join us in the field for the All-Star race tonight.
All right, so it is a very interesting format, and now you see why we had to bring in the specialist to explain it, because there was no way Corey and I were getting that. We're in the qualifying session now. These guys have 5 minutes to put down 2 laps. I'm looking at Neil Pearson in the 62. He's out making a lap at the moment. Some other cars waiting on pit road. Patrick Muchet as well making some laps. I got to ask, guys, into this Open, obviously it's going to be 4 drivers that make the cut. The rest are going to be going home. Who are some drivers that you guys are going to be looking at in this Open? Who do you think is going to have some speed? I'll start with you, Corey.
Well, just looking at the lineup that we do have, the first 2 drivers that I'll look at, I'm going to pick 2. I'm going to break the rules. I'm going to go with Muchet, Patrick Muchet, and probably, of course, the 15 of Miller. Miller, I believe he won the non-broadcasted race last week at Kansas and has been very competitive this season. So very surprising to see him in the Open, but I think he is sure as heck going to transfer pretty easily.
So I believe Miller is actually eligible for the All-Star race. I think he might have just joined in a spotter capacity for his team. Not 100% sure. We'll be updated on that, I am assuming, shortly.
Clicked the wrong button as he was joining, so he's listed in the drivers, but he's not actually going to be in the Open.
All right, that's what I thought. But yeah, Cam, how about your picks?
I think I'm going to have to go with Lucas Hoytsma. If you look at the points this year, I believe he is 2nd overall of everyone that doesn't have a win yet. It might be 1st now because he's been having a fantastic year. All the LMM cars, they've showed up every week with speed, and Lucas has definitely proven that he can handle that speed and he can stay up front. I think he's probably my favorite to win one of the early stages tonight. He's out right now on your screen making a qualifying attempt, so watch him shoot to the top of the board. Kyle Ammon's been really fast as I've been watching this practice session too, so those are the guys I'm going to be keeping an eye on.
Solid picks. What about you, Dustin?
Watching practice, the 77 of Dalton Mobley was looking good. He was out there on older tires and keeping pace with some of the previously mentioned drivers, even on the older Goodyear skins. But if I went with anybody other than EPI team driver Kyle Ammon, I'd probably catch flack for that. Earlier this season, I already passed on voting him driver of the day when, I don't know, I just felt he didn't deserve it. But this time around, I know that he's put in a lot of practice. He's worked really hard for this, and I think we'll see him move forward as well.
Absolutely. For my picks, if I didn't pick my own drivers for my team, Lucas Hoitzma and Michael Christopher, it would probably be a bit of an awkward LMM team meeting on Monday. So I guess I'm going to have to pick those guys, and hopefully they do the team proud. Lucas is currently third in qualifying, Michael Christopher second, but the pole position, as of right now, provisional pole, is going to go to Kyle Ammon, and he is on the top of the charts with a 30.147. He's actually got 2/10 on the next guy behind him, so really fast lap out of that number 5 machine, as qualifying is just about winding down. We got a minute left. Only a handful of drivers that have not turned a lap. Dalton Mobley and Tanner Marty, I believe, are the only 2 contenders to not turn a lap. We've got Damaris Hickenbottom in the lobby as race control. And, of course, Robert Miller in Cam's word hit the wrong button. So we'll have to wait and see. Looks like Tanner Marty did turn a lap. That's going to be a 30.9, and I think he's going to be able to squeak in that second lap. Should have just enough time, as you see him rounding into, I believe it's 3 and 4 here. Running that low line. Now, Cam, we were talking a little bit pre-race. I believe Corey asked the question whether or not the high line was going to work at all. And you said it would work for a few laps, but then you'd burn up the right rear tire. These stages are really short. And when you add in the fact that caution laps will count in the open, which they will not in the All-Star race, it's going to be very short stints of racing. Do you think that's going to promote the high line?
I think so. And I think anyone that's been paying attention to these cars knows that they're really sensitive to air, just like the ones last year. So it's really hard to get up behind somebody really close and drop some air on their spoiler to make a pass or anything. So I think guys are going to be fanning out going through these corners, just trying to get as much downforce on the front of these cars as possible. So you're going to see guys running on the apron. You're going to see guys running the wall. Both are fast. You can run basically the same lap time on either one. It's just at what point of the corner do you want to have the speed? You want to be fast on entry and to the middle, or do you want to have that shot down the straightaway that comes from the top line?
Absolutely. So it looks like we might have had a last-minute withdrawal. Dalton Mobley has disconnected from this session, taking it behind the wall, so he may not be participating. He's going to have very little time to get back in the session. I'm not sure if it was technical difficulties or something else, but we didn't see him turn a qualifying lap, and now he is out. So we'll keep you updated.
That commentator curse from Dustin.
Way to go, Dustin. Are you proud of yourself?
You've been the victim of it, so I'll take it. Sorry, Dalton.
From the curse E to the cursor. Interesting. But they're rolling off, and it is going to be Kyle Ammon on the inside of row 1 as qualifying concluded. Nobody was able to top that blazing fast 30.1, and so he will have the field in his hands, and it's going to be interesting. These guys know they've got a couple shots at it. Of course, like you said, the winner of the first 2 stages will be progressed to the All-Star. They'll be removed from the race, and the last stage, it'll be 2 drivers that progress, the top 2, and the rest will not make the cut. So really, a lot of these drivers got a pretty fair chance. It's just going to be about driving smart, making sure they hit their marks, and don't do anything dumb. I mean, obviously, short races promote aggressive driving. You want to get on it, and it kind of feels like it's make or break all the time. But I think patience and smart driving is going to be key here.
Yeah, we'll see indeed what happens. We do have, as you look at the sky, guys, we do have that nice, thick, cloudy sky, which at this low-grip Chicago track should kind of help even things out and increase the speed. So we'll see how that does fare into things. But our one and only pace lap is concluding itself, coming through 3 and 4, getting ready to get this thing underway.
And it is going to be Kyle Ammon as the control car. The pace car is making that hard left turn. Made it a little bit late. I don't know how it even made the commitment cone, but there it goes. Kyle Ammon takes the green. It's a great jump. That's going to put him out to about a 2-car length lead. Lucas Hoitzma alongside his teammate for second place. Looks like the outside lane just didn't quite get the run that they wanted to. They're going to go single file for the top 3. And Neil Pearson up on that high line is dropping positions. Tanner Marty in tow with him as well. Under fire from Chad Sander. They're going to single file out, it seems. Patrick Boucher tail end of this pack. But he is watching these guys, learning what lines they're running, and so far it's a clean start.
Yeah, everyone did get in a line pretty quickly, especially on these 1.5 milers where you're pretty much flat out on the restarts through 1 and 2. You definitely want to be on that bottom. The top doesn't really have enough to sustain itself. I think that's what killed it pretty significantly there. But it does look like Hoytsma over the course of 1 lap is really starting to eat into that little bit of a gap that Ammon was able to muster up coming down the curve backstretch here at Chicago. We'll see if they change lanes in turn 3. Looks like they'll both commit to that bottom, but look at Hoytsma surging to the back bumper.
Lucas was pretty confident with that setup. He was talking in the team chat before the race, said the setup was a little bit twitchy, but it was fast when he could control it. So we're seeing that speed. It's just going to be a matter of whether or not he can keep it underneath them. Now, Cam, he said that a lot of the twitchiness from the car is coming from these colder temps. Right now, the track is a pretty cool 68 degrees on the track surface. Is that a little bit too cool? Is that, below what you prefer, or what would you look for at this track?
I found that the sweet spot here is usually around 75 to 80 degrees. Once you get below 70, you're going to start picking up grip in places when you're not exactly expecting it. Especially if you're running the low line here, it's pretty bumpy and there's some seams down there. So you're going to pick up just traces of grip in odd spots, whether you're getting on the gas or rolling out of the throttle or having a lot of wheel in it. It's going to pick up grip in places where you're not ready for it. So
There
as you
goes
see him,
Hoytsma for the lead. Sorry to cut you off.
he sends it down there on the bottom.
Ammon.
Ammon gets back to him. Looks
Oh,
clean to me.
man.
All right. But as you saw right there, Lucas drove that car down in the corner, and there's a bump in the middle of 3 and 4. He hit that, and that's what got him loose, and he had to chase that up the track. Plus, entering with the extra speed. Looks like the 51's going to make a move on Kyle here as well.
Kyle able to hold him off on the high line there. It's going to put him back into second, and curious to see how he races Lucas if he can get back up there. A little bit of contact, a little bit of slide job going on in that overtake. So very aggressive, and Kyle Lehman obviously just as much as anybody wants to make the All-Star. Everybody in this field does, and kind of had a scary moment there where it was almost taken away from him prematurely, but gathering it back up and getting it back out on track. I got to ask, you said the cooler track temp does kind of make the car on edge. It definitely gives you grip where you don't necessarily want it, makes it feel a little bit twitchy. But what does a cooler track temp do for slides? When you overheat your tires, does that make it a little bit more forgiving?
It depends what your car was doing before. So if your car is going to be loose, say on the exit of a corner when it's warmer, it's going to get even looser as you get here. And then when you're chasing the slide, which is usually going to happen when you're loose, whichever way you turn the wheel, you're more likely to get that grab effect that we've seen several times with this next gen car. I've done it 3 or 4 times this year. So you definitely got to be wary of turning the wheel to the right to save a slide. Especially at these cold temps, but really with this car, it doesn't matter what the temperature is. If you chase it too far, it's going to come back and bite you.
Yeah, definitely seems to be the case. Corey, I think I cut you off there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to just kind of add to that. We know how aerodynamic this car is, and with that rear diffuser creating that downforce underneath the vehicle, once you get that thing sideways, once you're yawed out in any capacity, it basically goes from making full downforce to 0. Which is why you'll see these guys snap loose and just break dead sideways on corner exit because that downforce just completely went away. As I think the 51 of Baker got a terrible one off of turn 4. Christopher is going to pass him on the outside, or so we think, for that 3rd spot.
Yeah, he heard you talking about it, and then he decided to give you an example.
Looks like that
like
70s.
car.
Oh, go ahead, my friend.
Looks like the 5 car is actually chewing back into this lead that Hoytsma was building up. He's getting real close. You see Hoytsma's using the top part of the racetrack, probably because he feels like his car's a little bit too on edge on the bottom. If he runs it a little higher in the corner, he's got a little bit more control of it. At least that's what I was feeling when I was practicing earlier. And Ammon's pretty dedicated to that bottom line, so we'll see if he can get back to him, maybe give him another shot to the bumper here.
Now, I'll ask this as a driver, guys. This track is obviously going to go through some changes. I think the All-Star itself is actually at night. Is there anything between team communications or just friend communications that you can learn from this to apply to the All-Star that'll be run under the lights?
I think my team is suffering from success right now. Everyone was in the playoffs last year, so no one's in this race. So I don't have any info to go off of from this.
Yeah,
Like-
I'll be in Kyle's ear after this race. We'll talk about it and see if there's anything that he can bring back feedback wise on the setup. We're basically running the same thing tonight, so yeah, we'll definitely talk about it, which way the car's swinging. Kind of like to add to what Cam was saying earlier. Lately in the sim, it seems like the colder temperatures on the track, all they really do, they don't give you added grip to the problem area of the car. They give you added grip to the side that's already got grip. So if you're tight, you're going to be tighter. If you're loose, you're going to be looser as the track cools off. So when night falls, the good thing about that is typically the track will stay fairly consistent on temperature. Baker really holding on to that thing. I don't know if you caught that in the broadcast, but really it's gonna be a case of who nailed it. There's not a whole lot you can do to these things under pit stops. So really the feedback that we can get between this race and the All-Star race, if you make a change, you're throwing the sink at it. If you don't, then you just have to kind of be aware of what's coming, as Kyle is to the back bumper of Lucas now.
That goes the other
Kyle's
way
talking.
too. That goes the other way there, Dustin. I think back to the last time we had an intermission, Auto Club, a year or so ago.
That was a good day.
You boys over at Team Conti, when we started that race, didn't quite have the setup, didn't quite have it figured out. Under that intermission, you guys looked at the telemetry, you guys figured that setup out a little bit more. You really felt like you had nothing to lose, and like you said, you threw the kitchen sink at it. You guys walked away with the win. So for some of these guys that maybe aren't liking their car now, but they might be able to race their way in, I think it could be a good opportunity to make some last minute adjustments.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. These guys that are in the open, they are feeling exactly what they're going to be trying to explain to anybody they may be giving feedback to. But they're feeling it. So they have this practice session. It just so happened that it's a very cool track, which may relate well or correlate well to tonight's race once we get going later on. So these guys, this added practice for those who do move on, this could be a really good deal. Also, in relation to or referring back to the Auto Club race, my old man used to always tell me when I was racing, it's either going to go fast or you're going upside down, one or the other. And that's what I told Adam after that rain delay at Auto Club. We're going fast or we're going in the fence. But this is what we got.
Lucky for you guys, it went fast.
Yeah, yep, you're right.
But Kyle Lamman right now still battling with the leader, and he doesn't have much time on his side. Lap 17, when they complete lap 20, that'll be stage 1. And whoever is in the lead at that point will be progressed to the All-Star. Ammon is very evenly matched. I can tell what he's doing right now, though, is he's trying to keep his car in clean air. He was really dedicated to the bottom. Cam pointed it out earlier. Now he's migrated to the top because Lucas moved to the bottom to try to put him in dirty air. Now Lucas sees that, and he's like, okay, well, I'm going back to the top then, putting Kyle in dirty air again. It's like 4D chess out here. These guys are just trying to take each other's line. If he's going to make the pass, how is he going to do it? Is he going to have to set it up in 1 and 2 and maybe try to get a run down the back straightaway through 3 and 4? Or is it just going to have to be a lunge?
Yeah, it seems like Lucas is playing it smart. He's doing what Larson was doing last week, trying to keep Kurt Busch behind him. Just take away the air from him wherever you can. Lucas is just going to have to keep committing late to these corners, which could open him up to a mistake. That's basically what Kyle's got to pray for right now. He could try to run the top and set up a pass in the next corner. He's only got a couple of laps to do it here, but as you can see, Lucas smartly going to take the top line away.
Yeah, if I was in
That's gonna
Kyle's
negate
ear
the
right
run.
now, I would just tell him to look in the mirror. Like, you just have to win one of these stages. Don't throw a Hail Mary right now, end up wrecking yourself, wrecking Lucas. Play it smart, play the long game. Lucas, like Cam's saying, running that top, he's forcing Kyle to go to the bottom. He's saying, here, take the bottom, have it, but I'm going to have a better run on that exit.
Got
And
the white
also the-
flag
clearing
and he's
it.
sending it.
Yeah, there's the white flag out for the stage, but there's also the risk
Little
versus
bubble.
reward right now because we do know if Ammon doesn't win this stage, just look at the speed difference, guys. He's probably going to win the second one, so he really doesn't need to go, full out because he's still likely going to transfer anyways without a mistake. But look at him,
Whoa!
it's super loose there. As I say,
Saver.
don't make a mistake. There he
Woo.
goes and tries to wreck the thing,
Save.
but there goes Hoytsma.
Yeah, like I say, The owner in me is saying, hey, just ride this thing out, go win stage 2.
You got to wonder with the strategy of this race. I mean, 4 guys are going to transfer from this race, and there's only 8 cars here. So maybe those guys that are further back there, they're faster than they're showing right now. They just don't want to wreck early. Just because there's stages doesn't mean there's a reset. You wreck your car now, it's going to be wrecked in 20 minutes too.
That absolutely could be. I mean,
oh yeah, there goes Hoytsman being removed from the session. Just completely scared me, but forgot that's what happened.
So Michael Christopher and Lucas Hoytsma, who won that stage, those guys are on the same setup. So you're right. Maybe some of these drivers a little bit further back in the field aren't showing their speed. It seemed like some of these guys may be struggling with the setup just outright. We saw Jason Baker in that 51 get sideways a few times, but we are going to be bringing them down at pit road, I believe, possibly. So we'll see what these guys do. But with Lucas locked in, I think it's going to be the Kyle Ammon show. He's got to play it smart, like Dustin said. It's going to be all about just being smooth, being clean. And even if something were to happen and he didn't get this one, he's only got to be in the top 2 in the last stage. And we know he's got a top 2 car right now. So it'll be interesting to watch play out. But one thing to keep in mind, guys, is this stage is technically going to be a little bit shorter for these guys than stage 1 because caution laps are counting. By the time we go green again, it should be lap 24, lap 25-ish. So it's kind of go time at that point.
I'd be looking at a 15 or 16 lap run rather than 20. So if you're somebody like Kyle, Kyle ran a fantastic stage just now, was getting dirty air dumped on him, which is probably why he wasn't able to make the pass. But now you could probably send it that little bit harder because those last 5 laps are the hardest ones anyway.
Neil Pearson stayed out.
That is an interesting call. In a race like this, you don't have that many cars, not many competitors, so I feel like you're not gaining that much track position, and you're losing a lot on tires. I mean, I'm a commentator. I'm sure these guys know better than I do, but that is interesting. So, good question, Cam. They are limited on sets technically. I believe Carlos said they have 3 sets of tires, including 1 on the car. So
2 extra.
Yes, which should be enough to get to the end easily. But I guess if something were to happen, if we got a organic caution for cause, maybe having an extra set wouldn't be bad.
Or maybe
Nate might be playing. Nate might be playing for that caution in stage 3, where he would be the only guy with fresh tires with 5 to go.
Or maybe he just wants the TV time. What about that, guys? Maybe he just wants to have that nice red Camaro on this 3-wide TV broadcast.
The Cody Bird strategy is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Neil Pearson.
Well, it is a little cloudy out there, so this could be the Cody Bird strategy.
There's no barrels at pit entry.
Another guy I would say, another guy I would say to keep your eye on in these next 2 stages is Jason Baker. He's somebody that, especially for a short run and in qualifying several times this year, he has been really fast. So I could definitely see him moving forward as well.
So it looks like Kyle Ammon actually might have lost a position on pit road, but I gotta wonder if that was intentional, because that's going to put him on the inside lane for this restart here in 3rd, with Michael Christopher in 2nd up on the outside lane, and we saw how bad the outside really was on the initial start. It just seemed like there wasn't as much grip up there. Those guys struggled to get that momentum, and the bottom just kind of shot out of a cannon. So maybe one of those situations where you drag the brake a little bit, put yourself in 3rd, and as our producer pointed out, the leader can choose lanes, but the drivers behind him can't. So if you want the inside or the outside, then you're either going to have to be 3rd or 4th. So
I think they're just doing that for stage 3 though.
Yeah, we're talking in the back end here about whether the choose cone is for the entire field or if it's just for the leader. It might just be an all-star specific thing, but we'll see if we can get the specifics on that.
Yeah, I was not told anything about a choose cone in this race or this stage, so I don't believe there is.
I'm looking at it now.
They're going to use the choose cone.
It says that the choose cone will be used for the start of stage 2 and 3.
Okay. So maybe this is a tryout thing that the league's going to try to do, since this is an exhibition race. That would make sense. See how it goes. See if anybody has any issues with it.
That could be. I always liked the choose cone. Thought it was a pretty interesting rule. But speaking of choosing your lane, look at old Neil Pearson taking the outside. It would seem that is an interesting call. Like I said, I definitely think the bottom is going to be the stronger lane, especially when you're on older tires, you don't really want to be up there in the marbles. But that's the call he made. We'll have to see if it works out for him.
Or he's
They're
just
two
trying to
fast
get out of the
cars.
way. He's trying to just get out of the way too, because he knows he's going to have no grip, and he just maybe, like I said, if he wants the TV time and he knows he's going to drop back, then it's easier to drop back if you're on the top of the track. So we'll indeed see as we come
Say
through 3 and 4.
I would be real nervous right now if I was Tanner Marty. You got the guy in the non-preferred lane on 20-lap race laps on those tires. Got to be wary of him spinning those on this restart.
Especially on the top.
Yeah, he's going to have to be extremely cautious. Maybe give a little bit of extra room. But as the pace car comes out of turn 4, look at the angle it makes this left train turn. It fascinates me. It's like a 90-degree corner. My
Yoink.
goodness. But there we go. The leader is out and away, and
Look
it's
at
the
that
inside.
jump.
Wow. Lucas missed a
Wow.
shift or slid his tires.
Michael Christopher with a ton of wheel spin completely slows down Kyle Ammon. That's going to throw a wrench in his strategy. He's going to have to regain some track position here in this shorter stage. We're already on lap 26. Stage will end at lap 40. Now a move to the bottom by Kyle Ammon. That's going to get him to the door of the 70. And I think through 3 and 4, you're going to see him complete this pass. Ammon is really fast on these fresh tires. He's really fast in that mid to low groove, and it does work. That puts him up to 3rd. His sights are set on Tanner Marty. And that was a massive, massive help for Neil Pearson in that 62 machine to get out in a way like that to really capitalize on the mistakes of his competitors. I would not have expected him to hold on to the lead like he has on these older tires, but man, this has been phenomenal for him.
Really, with these cars, your pressures are, when you stay out, your pressures are up. These guys on fresh tires, they have to build pressure still. Often these cars are very tight until they do. You're going to see here, well, you're starting to see it now. He's going to start falling back quickly.
Ammon looking he thought he was going to try to go in the middle there through the tri-oval here at Chicago, but I still think he's going to try to go through the middle. This is going to be a tight squeeze. Thread the needle, Ammon to the outside, and here he comes 3rd to 1st in one set of corners.
I hired him.
That was an incredible move, but look at this. Tanner Marty now trying to make a move on that white line, and it looks like these guys are really struggling to hold it if they pinch it too low. We've kind of talked about the strength of the low line, but when they get down where that paint is, it seems like this car is getting thrown around, and that was a huge detriment to Tanner. He's going to lose a little bit of time. Now he's under fire from Michael Christopher in the 70. These guys are going to battle it out, and this is exactly what Kyle Ammon needs. This is what he wants to see in that mirror when he looks up. These guys battling, slowing themselves down, and meanwhile, he's driving off into the sunset, and not just proverbially. That's a word I can't say because I struggle with that. But literally driving into the sunset, ladies and gentlemen, because it is getting darker and darker. And Kyle Ammon, he is far and away.
Like we said, that patience from stage 1 to not overdo it, to try to take the lead and win it naturally is going to pay off here, because without a significant drop off in the next 10 laps or a mistake or a caution, anything on those lines, he should just drive off into the proverbial, let's see, I could say it right the first time, sunset. But Tanner Marty, he's in 2nd right now, so theoretically he would be the one to transfer. But look at Christopher in that 70. He's not messing around. He's closing and using a little bit of draft on the front straightaway. We'll see what he tries to do in turn 1. Looks like he's going to drop to the bottom side by side for 3rd.
I'll tell you what, guys, just looking at the way this race is shaping up, I'm going to make a prediction now, knock on wood, that Kyle Ammon has this stage. I think he's got the fastest car on track right now. He's definitely the most comfortable out of these guys, and he's continuing to build that gap. But looking forward to the final stage, it's going to be an interesting battle, because Michael Christopher, Tanner Marty, even Chad Sanner are really evenly paced in terms of lap times. And I think if Jason Baker could get in front of these guys and get out of dirty air, he'd also have some pace. Neil Pearson, again, he's on old tires, so he's not really showing his full hand either. I think it's going to be an all-out brawl in stage 3 for those top 2 positions, because these guys are very evenly matched. Michael Christopher still trying to make something happen.
Run the wall next to it.
Oh boy. Patrick
Mouchet, whoa. We stay green. Again, the algorithms of iRacing said that was clean enough, or cautions are off, one of the two. Admin cautions. So we do stay green, so Mouchet is not gonna be in a good spot. But back to the battle on the screen. Looks like 2nd is battling right now, but we do have the replay on the screen. Looks like he got hit by I think that was Pearson.
Yeah, a little bit of help from Neil Pearson. It was a very strange hit. It was kind of in the middle of the straightaway. I'm not sure how that played out. Miche clearly lost some momentum and had to check up, and Pearson was not expecting that. Just hit him at the wrong angle. Where these cars are so round on that back bumper, if you're not aligned right, if you're not in the center, one gentle push in the wrong direction is going to be the end of your night, as we saw with Miche. So very unfortunate there, and that is going to be the end of his All-Star hopes. But that makes things a little bit easier for some of these guys, because then there were 6. We've got Chad Sanner, we've got Pearson, we've got Baker, Christopher, Marty, Ammon. 6 drivers still on track, and we've got I think 3 more, the winner of this stage and then the top 2 finishers. So half of these field drivers are going to be going into the All-Star. So a little bit easier now, but comes at the cost of Miche.
Something that you mentioned earlier, Andre, that I kind of wanted to visit was you noticed that these guys are having trouble keeping it on the bottom. And that's kind of what you run into when you build a car to run as fast as possible for just 20 laps. I mean, some of the 100% races where you can bank on having 50, 60, even 70 lap runs, you're going to build a car that, you know, you can get out of the throttle, you can roll it on the bottom and kind of save those tires from taking too much abuse. But in this race, you've got to carry so much speed through the center of the corner. It's hard to build a car that can turn there and also exit the corner without trying to kill you.
Yeah, it definitely seems like these guys went all out with the setup. I know just in the LMM garage, I was hearing a lot of whispers of setups that were pretty much built to be as aggressive as possible, and maybe not even so much setups that they're going to use when they get into the actual All-Star, where the stages will be a little bit longer. And these guys are showing it. I mean, these cars are on the ragged edge where you kind of have to be. And I think going back to the cooler track temps, that probably played into the mindset when it came to building these setups as well. They knew it was going to be very cool, and they knew they were going to have a lot of grip. And the more grip you have, well, the bolder you get, the more you can really set that car up to just rocket into the corners and really slam on the accelerator coming out. So it's been fun to watch for sure. These guys are not on a Sunday drive out there for sure. They are wheeling these things.
So 2 laps to go in stage number 2, and Ammon pulled out to about a second. But as you guys have alluded to a couple times, I can't wait for stage 3, because we're going to have a good battle for the win. It looks like Marty and Christopher are essentially equal right now, and on a fresh set of tires with actually, is it? I just want to make sure. Is it 2 to go? I'll make sure I got the format right. I said I wasn't going to talk about.
Yeah, it's 2 to go now. They're going to complete lap 40. So pit lane just got closed. When they come to the line this time, it'll be for the white flag of the stage, and it will be Kyle Ammon is going to see that white flag.
Something that's been pretty impressive is Pearson on 20 lap older tires is still within 7 seconds of the lead after these 20 laps. So you throw some freshies on that car, got somebody that can compete for those last 2 spots for sure.
Yeah, maybe in a field with a couple more drivers and a higher probability of a caution, we would have, he'd be able to use that extra set. Maybe that'll be something to consider for the actual All-Star race, but at least for the time being.
You're instantly writing notes right now.
Larry Max mode engaged, full send right now for these team owners. But coming off turn number 4, and here goes Kyle Ammon with his free pass into the All-Star here. That is your caution.
He is going to take the win. He'll be removed momentarily. Don't panic when you see him leave. That is by design. Yeah, he will be in the All-Star race. Dustin, congratulations, man.
UFO engaged.
All right.
Thumbs up to the camera there, too. Attaboy.
Giving the thumbs up. Ever the showman, Kyle Ammon. I'm sure he's pretty excited about that. I'm excited for the All-Star. I'm not even in it. It's going to be a great show, but I'm almost more excited for this final stage, guys, because like Cam alluded to, we've got Neil Pearson, who was moderately competitive on tires where he should not have had any speed. So when you get fresh tires on this thing, presuming he takes them, I can't imagine he's going to stay out. That would be an absolute madman move. But if he takes the fresh tires, he's going to have some speed. We know that Jason Baker, a little bit inconsistent. The car seems to be on the edge. He's having some trouble keeping it underneath him. But when he does keep it under him, he can get that thing around the corner as fast as anybody else. Then you've got Michael Christopher and Tanner Marty. These guys were battling pretty much the entire stage 2 and even some of stage 1. It's going to be anybody's game in this final stage up to lap 60. And again, not just one moving forward in this stage, but 2. So it's not just going to be a battle for the lead. If you're in 3rd place and you see those guys up there battling, you got to make that move.
What is going on.
Oh, okay. Michael, Christopher, Tanner, Marty.
maybe we had the amount of tires wrong.
I can't imagine that's the case. We do have Jason Baker coming down pit road. He did pit on stage 1, I believe.
That's the only way I could figure that Michael Christopher doesn't come down pit road here.
Tanner Marty as well.
Well, let's keep an eye on the jack of the 51. Yeah, that car does go up in the air. So the 51 had a set of tires for this stage. So we know that Christopher must have as well as Tanner Marty. So maybe just banking on putting these guys in dirty air, making a bit of a last minute risky call here.
Yeah, I have nothing, guys. So.
As kids
I'm
these
gonna
days
go to the
say,
Ford cutaway car and say that this doesn't make no sense at all.
I'm gonna say as kids these days say, rip.
Okay, so I just talked to Larry McReynolds. No, I didn't. I talked to Cody Bird. He just sent me a message on Snapchat.
Yes.
He said they have one set. So,
Okay, so yeah.
the announcements board was either I'm reading the announcements board wrong or I was looking at the All-Star. But either way, one set. That is interesting.
It's gonna put Michael Christopher in a very bad spot trying to make this race. Neil Pearson looks like a genius. Actually, Jason Baker looks like the real genius here because he went down pit road but didn't take tires that first time.
Yeah. Not only did he not take tires, he sat in his box long enough to come
To
out
make
with
everyone
the crew.
think that he did.
Exactly.
Yeah, guys, I'm looking at the announcement screen that gives us all of our race details. I think it's the age-old confusion of when it says 2 sets of tires, does that mean 2 extra, or does that mean 1 on the car and 1 on the pits? And clearly,
One on the
I think
car and 1 in the pits.
clearly we all guessed wrong.
We are we're really on the ball tonight, aren't we, boys?
I wasn't in this race. I didn't do my recon.
I'm not in any race.
Exactly.
Well,
All
just
right,
so you guys know, you have 3 sets for the All-Star, so take your guess whether that's 2 and 1 or 3. We're not going to put any misinformation in your mind, so.
All right, so Cody, he just sent me another message on Snapchat. He said, just trying to help. Make sure you say Cody Bird is the best. I will not say that, Cody, but I do appreciate the help.
Oh, so you heard the comment about the cones?
I'm assuming he
no
did.
No comment about that, Cody? Come on.
So, man, oh man, even the commentators here getting thrown for a loop on this tire strategy. Like you guys said, Michael Christopher not in a good spot. But some of these drivers, such as Baker and Neil Pearson, these guys are going to be on cloud 9 on those fresh tires. This is interesting.
Yeah, we have 5 left in the race, 2 of whom have tires. What we thought we may, what may shape up to be a duke it out session, it may just be 2 guys walking away in Jason Baker and Neil Pearson.
That could be the case. I have to imagine those fresh tires are going to be an advantage that it'll be difficult for the competitors to overcome. And with so few laps to do it, lights are off on the pace car. This time it'll be lap 46 when we cross to take the green. So very short final stage here. And since we're taking 2 and we have 2 drivers that are going to be on better tires, it seems like things may be sorted, but you never know. This race has been a little bit unpredictable, especially with what happened with Muchet. I don't think any of us really expected an incident to that degree, especially in the way that it happened. So who knows? I think anything could happen in this final stage as it's continuing to get darker up in the sky, and the track is actually continuing to get cooler and cooler. 67 now. It was 68 last time we checked in. So track temps changing dynamically and obviously rubbering in as well. You can see the bottom groove a little bit darker now than it was before. So things changing. I do not believe the track state carries over to the All-Star. That'll be a different session entirely. Therefore, it'll be a fresh track state. There goes the pace car, the number 70 machine. Michael Christopher is in P2. The control car is going to be the number 29, Tanner Marty. Away he goes with a good advantage at the start.
He didn't get through the gears at all, or he got some late wheel spin, because look at Christopher getting right to his back bumper, going low, going high. And here comes Baker.
Here comes Baker with the fresh tires. We're going to see if Pearson is going to be a little more patient, because it looks like Baker is just in a hurry to get to the front.
In a hurry to get things done. Trying to get to the front, and looks like Pearson is going to try to make a move up top, but he had to lift a little bit more than he expected. So that's going to cause him to give up a little time to the 70, but still able to get the power down as soon as he's pointed out of the corner. That gave him a good run down the tri-oval on the bumper of Christopher, who, not to be denied, he's not doing terrible for as old as those tires are. Sticking with the leaders for the moment as they battle, kind of using the fact that they're slowing themselves down to his advantage. Neil Pearson, here he comes again. He's going to try to line it up down the banking towards that white line. We've talked about how difficult it is to hold it down there. He's going to drift up a little bit, not able to make this move. If he can't get up there with these fresh tires, that could be disastrous, guys.
Now Christopher is going to make the move on Marty for the final transfer spot. He's not going to be clear off the corner. Getting a little tight on that exit.
Oh, I think may have been the fence
And he
there a little
has
bit.
Marty in
Here
the wall
goes
a little
3
bit.
wide. Pearson to the inside, takes him 3 deep, entering 3. And is he going to be able to clear? And Marty's going to be up in the big bumps on the top of the track, but he's still going to have enough to hang on and stay in front of Christopher.
Marty's got that run on the top line. This might not be over yet.
That was a brilliant 2-for-1 move by Neil Pearson, but Cam's right. Tanner Marty is really keeping pace with these guys.
Oh, whoa, 70 Tokyo drifted it.
He hit that bump at
No!
the bottom.
Marty.
Tanner Marty gets a little sideways on the straightaway. That is going to let Jason Baker and Neil Pearson drive away with these transfer positions. Tanner was doing a great job on those older tires, keeping pace with these guys, but I think that right there shows how he was keeping pace. He was driving this thing on its absolute limit, pushing it to the absolute edge of grip, and just lost it.
It's asking too much of an old set of tires there.
Yeah, watching this, I'm taking notes. I'm considering, hey, did the heat cycle that these tires went through change the balance of their cars to where they are now free, or at least freer than they were pre-caution? I'm taking notes on that as well for tonight.
Only seemed to be the case last week, so.
Yep. So now, if you're Baker or Pearson, the intelligent thing to do, and I'm not putting any negatives on people, would be to drive at about 80% now, because they literally have absolutely nothing to do to transfer besides not screw up. So tone it back. those team owners and spotters just say, you guys are in, just don't do anything stupid, and you guys should be all right for 10 more laps.
And one thing that I'm learning watching these guys as well, mostly Michael Christopher, after he had that initial slide, he slid 2 or 3 more times after that in the consecutive corners. It seems like even with these cooler track temps, you'd think it'd be a little bit more forgiving when you heat up those tires. You'd think they'd cool down a little bit faster, but it seems like one big slide and you're going to be driving on ice for the next lap or two, because that is exactly what happened to him.
Yeah, really, it's tire heat relative to the other tire. So if you overheat your right rear relative to your right front, it's gummy, it's slimy, and that's why you see the exaggerated looseness. I do understand what you're saying there, Andre. You would think on the cooler racetrack, cooler contact patch, maybe with the tri-oval and the way that you're turning for 3/4 of this track, it doesn't give that right rear much of a break to cool down.
Yeah, that makes sense. That I'd never thought about it that way, and I guess that would explain why these guys are struggling with it. But man, that's going to be a challenge, because it seems like these guys are sliding quite frequently. Maybe not to the extent that Christopher was sliding there, but just going through the corner, every time they get down on that low line, these bumps are throwing those cars around. You see them putting a little bit of counter steer into the wheel on corner exit. I think tire preservation, even though the All-Star is going to be a pretty short race, I think tire preservation is going to be kind of important. What do you guys think?
I would say so, because definitely, at least in my opinion, and I'm not to the skill level of you guys in this series, but typically 1 and 2 is pretty smooth, and usually you want to run the top. 3 and 4, it's very, very bumpy at the top, but with these new surface updates we got about a year ago, you can definitely run up there, but it is super bumpy. So it's like on one side of the track, you kind of want to be on one lane, and the other side, you want to be on the other. So you kind of have to, mix and match, balance your pace, and try to not to do too much and kill your stuff on each side of the track.
I think tire preservation is just the name of the game anytime on iRacing, whether you're running 10 laps or 20, even 60 lap runs. Tire preservation is going to matter a lot, because the feel of your car changes from corner to corner with the sim. It doesn't matter if you're Nick Ottinger or I can't really name anybody that I would say is the opposite of Nick Ottinger, but well, yeah, it doesn't matter if you're Nick Ottinger or Dustin Hall. If you're wearing the right front, you're gonna feel it every single corner, every single time. So it's changing every lap. whether you're doing a short run or a long run. So you got to be conscious of it at all times. It can reach up and bite you. It definitely has me quite a bit this year.
Yeah, and Corey touched on something earlier. You know, the slip angle of this car, it's inherently tight, but you get beyond a certain slip angle, and I'm talking about skew or your rear tires in the track of your front tires. If that gets too far offset one way or the other, losing that aero dependency that you have on the rear, it really causes a very erratic and very unpredictable behavior when we refer to this next gen car. You want to be able to have some slip angle to help the car rotate. If you can just rotate center and carry more speed to exit, especially on a track where you may be running top or bottom, if you can maintain enough momentum on that bottom side with a good slip angle and corner roll speed, you can contend with those guys running the top. And to find that line and not go past it, it's hard set by, in terms of setup, but also in terms of driver, because you need to find that limit every corner, and it's essentially a spinning dartboard, and you're trying to throw a dart at it because it's so unpredictable.
Yeah, and you definitely want to, as a driver, you need to know what it's like on each side of the track to, in each line. You kind of need to practice, run a couple laps high, run a couple laps down, know where those limits are, know what the car wants to do in each lane. As we do take the white flag lap here at Chicago in the open, Baker does have a second lead, and so far Baker and Pearson will be your two to transfer amongst Ammon and Hoytsma, who have already done so. So we're coming down through 3 and 4 in our 100% All-Star Open. And with no contestant and a nice clean ride, number 51 of Jason Baker, he's going to transfer to your All-Star, as well as Neil Pearson.
Congratulations, Jason. That was some big brain strategy there to get you in, and congratulations.
Unfortunately for the other drivers, Christopher, Marty, Sanner, and Mouche, they will have to be watching it from the grandstands. Hopefully they were able to get a ticket and watch the All-Star that will come relatively shortly. Now, Andre did have a technical difficulty here, so he is unfortunately taking care of that. So we are going to kind of be improvising this. I believe there's about a 20-minute intermission between the All-Star and the Open and the this session. So Carlos, if you can kind of feed me some information on that.
Yeah, there's going to be a little bit of a break, and don't worry, while Andre is gone and he's getting his issues sorted, I'll be hopping in here. My mic is hot, and man, speaking of hot, how about them anyway?
No, we're not talking about that game right now. We're not talking about that game right now.
Let's move on, because people may not be watching tonight's game. Race is over. Jason Baker qualified. Same thing with Neil Pearson. Kyle Amon.
Lucas Hoytsma.
Yes, Hoytsma. And I believe Michelle also qualify?
No, Kyle Amon.
So it's Kyle, Lucas, Neil, and Jason Baker.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah. So it looks like Patrick, he DNF'd halfway through stage 2. That's why he's in between those two. Confused me there for a little bit. But yeah, okay. So you guys are about to go in there and race yourselves in the All-Star race. Why don't you tell me what's the thing you're looking most forward to in between all of the stages?
I'm looking forward to the 10-lap dash at the end. I love any time that we can get a short run going. I love driving aggressively, and I feel like that's to my detriment quite a bit. When we're running 100% cup races, because we have such long races, I'm kind of somebody that tends to blister the tires real early. So anytime that I can get a shot at winning something in 10 or less laps, I'm definitely looking forward to it.
And I agree. I'm excited to see that, but to see that first, I have to survive the first 70. So that's my goal. Get through those first two stages of 30 and 40 laps, be there at the end in a position to possibly contend. It's going to be exciting. I'm sure we'll put on a heck of a show for you guys.
So we'll be definitely looking forward to that. So, like I said, we got about a 20-minute intermission, I do believe. So, Carlos, let me know when you're going to cut away for that. But I do want to thank you guys for joining and helping us out tonight with some of the details. Had some good calls and some good insight for us. And good luck to you guys, and see if you can take home the metaphorical money.
Virtual million.
Yep. Trying to get that million iRacing bucks. Definitely appreciate you guys having me in the booth. I love listening back to the broadcasts, and I just like talking. So I'm kind of looking forward to doing this for a long time. Since I'm in the car most of the time, I don't get a chance to. I don't know. Maybe I can do more of this in exhibitions or things like that. But I had a good time. Hope you guys did as well.
Before you
Good
go,
time
where do you
as
think you're going to
always,
finish?
and
Oh, is he gone?
Dan,
He's
where
gone.
do you think you're gonna finish?
Oh, where do I think I'm gonna finish? P1. I'm gonna win this race because it doesn't count to points. Yeah, that sounds like something
that brings
I would
up the question, guys. Can a driver give himself the commentator's curse?
Yes.
We're about to find out.
do. We're gonna test this theory.
And I will not win because this race is broadcast.
Yeah,
This
he's
is
not allowed to
true.
win a broadcasted race.
Yeah,
You
Robert Miller
and
has the
Robert
same
both,
curse.
Dustin.
Yeah, that's right. Well, thanks guys for having us.
Yes, sir. Thanks for joining us, and good luck in the race, guys.
Thank you. Hey, good luck, Cam.
Thank you, bud. Yeah, good luck to you, sir.
All right.
All right, so that is our guests out of the booth. They'll be climbing into the car. I know it's a bit of a brisk jog from the booth up here all the way down to pit road where they got the cars lined up, but we're going to take it to a brief intermission, and hopefully during this intermission I don't have any more internet issues. We'll be back in just a little while with the All-Star event. Tune in right here at 3Wide TV.
Oh, the car turns. This feels completely different than what we were practicing right now. I actually like the feel of this a lot now. you, Kevin. This is a lot better than what we were practicing. Yeah.
Race fans, we are back for the 100% Cup Series here at Chicagoland. The race is a few minutes out, and the booth has thinned a little bit. It's just me and Corey bringing the action to you, and of course, producer Carlos Acosta. And we're going to be doing some impromptu interviews. We got about 9 minutes before the qualifying for the race. There's some track details for you up on the screen. A little bit warmer right now than it actually was in that other session, despite it being a little bit later at night, so that's interesting. We're going to pull in, I believe, Robert Miller first. Let's see what he has to say going into the All-Star. Robert Miller, Andre Bush up in the booth. You got a copy?
Gotcha.
Sorry to catch you off guard there, Robert. We decided we were going to do some interviews. I figured you wouldn't be too upset about it. You were locked in tonight. Didn't get to run the Open, but some of your teammates did. They got some information, maybe some valuable telemetry.
Can't do it from the UI.
Yes, of course. But the funny thing is, this track is a completely different track than what they ran in the Open, so it handles a completely different car.
Now, is that something you guys were planning on, or is the different track state kind of catching people off guard?
It's something that we planned on. Nothing I'm too worried about. Unlike the
So it sounds like you had a little bit of confidence going into the race. We had Cam in the booth for the Open. He kind of called his shot. We asked him where he thought he was going to finish, and of course he said P1. I think all he did there was give himself the commentator's curse as a driver. But what about you, Robert? You're going to call your shot? You think you got the car to win this thing?
well, I'm fixing to put a fight. That's I know that much. We'll see. It's hard to really build a setup here. Hard to really get practice with it because you don't have the official races during the week to really warm up your car per se that we do usually for the 100% league. So it's gonna be interesting to see how everybody has their car set up and see if they did it the right way.
It'll be a fun one for sure. Well, Robert, we're going to put you back up with your team. Good luck in the race, and hopefully we're talking to you afterwards, man.
Yeah, buddy.
Robert Miller out of the booth, and now I was thinking about who Corey could have a word with here, and I think who better than maybe one of our webcam drivers, Kyle Ammon. Let's bring him.
Open. How is the car driving in the Open, and does any of that transfer to these nighttime conditions here at Chicago?
A car drove great in the first stage. Yeah, I killed the right rear on the first one trying to race Lucas, which was great. You know, you learn what it needs, but I don't know. The track changed a little bit. It's a little warmer than the Open session, so you know we'll see. But we got a good one, and we're gonna give them all we got.
Yeah, exactly that. We'll wish you the best. But one more question for you. So we were talking to Miller a couple minutes ago, and he said that this was a little bit harder this week because you don't really have a lot of, iRacing official practice at Chicago. So you kind of really had to put in the personal time with your teams to build these setups. How much did you guys how much attention did you guys put on the Chicago setup this week, given that?
We put quite a bit. You know, we all put our heads together. You know, the group of us here at EPI and Team Conti. We put our heads together, and they came up with something really good. So we'll see what we got here.
All right, and every driver we've been asking them what's their realistic expectation of where they're expecting to be tonight, and I think everyone has said thare going to win. So, are you expecting to put that number 5 in victory lane tonight, or where do you kind of think you should be?
We're gonna give it what we got, but I want to make it out of the first, not be the last 4 in the first one. So, if we make it out of that section, we'll give it all we got.
All right, and we'll see what that number 5's made of, man. Good luck tonight. We'll put you back up there.
All right, appreciate it, guys. Have a good one.
Kyle Ammon out of the booth. I think we got time for another interview. Let's take a quick look through the list. How about a driver that we talked about earlier, Dustin talked about, and I was talking to him in Snapchat earlier. How about Cody Bird? Let's bring him down to the booth, see what he thinks going into this race. Cody Bird, you got a copy?
I sure do. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you loud and clear. We see you're out there practicing on track right now, going into the All-Star. Obviously eligible as a playoff driver. Track's looking pretty tough out there. Robert was saying the track was pretty hard to handle, a lot different than it was in the Open. Of course, you got to watch the Open, get a little bit of maybe experience just by watching these guys navigate it. How you feeling out there?
Actually feeling a lot better than I did in practice. Track was pushing tight during practice, and right now it actually feels like the second lane is going to be very viable. So we'll see. I mean, the Open was definitely interesting, seeing strategies come into play, and I hope we get that towards the end of this race. Maybe I'll be fighting up there with the heavyweights of the league.
Absolutely. Now, the kind of topic of conversation I think that's been reoccurring is the setup, because obviously Corey was talking to Kyle Ammon about this as well. There is not really any official iRacing sessions for Chicagoland this week. It's kind of just a thing exclusive to 100%. So you don't really get that easy, natural practice that you would get just from running Open sessions and things like that. You kind of have to intentionally go out of your way to run this track with your team, build a setup. And I know over at Ace Moneymaker, you guys are kind of sticklers for teamwork and really running together and figuring things out. Do you think you guys hit the setup this week?
Yeah, I think Bryson, Dustin, and Adam really hit on something during the practice session we had up earlier today. and it's going to come into play here. My biggest goal is just not to be one of the 4 drivers eliminated at the end of the first stage. I think that would be an accomplishment for me.
All right, well, we'll put you back up with your team. Wish you the best of luck in the race, Cody. Watch out for those pit barrels.
Oh, thanks, Andre.
I'm kidding. There is none. You're safe.
You never know with me.
All
I'll
right,
find
Cody. All right, we'll put you back up with your team.
Thanks, Andre. Have a good night.
You too.
So I kind of heard a universal theme amongst those drivers that they don't want to be the last 4. So I'm definitely thinking, on top of watching these stage wins, that elimination bracket is definitely going to be something to watch here as this race goes on.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch for sure. And again, it's a bigger field for the All-Star race, over twice what we saw in the Open. So I think there's going to be more battles everywhere on track, including for the cutoff bracket. It's going to be a lot of fun. I love Chicagoland. I know sometimes these 1.5s get a little bit of hate from the community, but to me, they have always been entertaining. They're a very methodical type of racetrack. And in a situation like this, it kind of works against that. You know, it's a different philosophy when you've got these short stages, you've got this elimination bracket. The design of this track makes you want to take your time. It makes you want to race a little bit more methodically, but you can't. You have to be on the throttle. You need to be taking everything you can get. So it's a lot of fun. These all-star races are always a good time. And just watching practice, it's interesting to see how these guys are kind of experimenting right now. Obviously, there's not really anything to lose in this race, but there's even less to lose in a practice session. And I'm seeing guys migrate all over the track. I've seen Bryson run the high line. I've seen him run the low line. I also followed along with Kevin Steele. I was kind of riding on board with him a little bit, and I saw he was really playing some dangerous games with the apron, riding that white line where the paint is, and it worked out a couple corners consecutively. And then it threw him for a loop. It actually spun him out getting on that apron. So I think these drivers are just kind of throwing the kitchen sink at it, seeing what works.
Yeah, Chicago is known for that. It's similar to, like, you know, from a racing perspective, at least on the surface, it's kind of similar to Atlanta, where you have all the bumps, you have the low grip, you can kind of make a lot of different things work. You have the huge amount of real estate on the front stretch to, you know, cut the tri-oval and try to gain some time there. So it's going to be interesting to see how it does play out. And, you know, wish that this track would come back in the real world, but I actually have heard that there's a lot, this track is hiring people in the real world. And NASCAR has been in talks, so hopefully we get this thing back in the real world. Maybe it could be an all-star race in the future, but I think we are closing it on single car qualifying, Andre, if I have the format correct.
Yes, sir. So the checkered flag has flown for the practice session. These guys are going to bring it down pit road, or forcefully be brought down pit road, actually. And they're going to have 5 minutes to turn 2 laps, and I believe that will set the field for the all-star race here. And as far as iRacing is concerned, these stages, so to speak, will be run as heat races. And that is how we're going to be doing the elimination format. So, or at least the first one will. The first one will be run as a heat. The other 2 will be run as we would typically run stages in the 100% Cup Series. So a little bit confusing, I know, a little bit different, but just one heat to do the cutoff and then back to our usual format. As I'm watching Kevin Steele out on track making his qualifying effort, kind of riding along with him. And I'm noticing these guys are almost pulling the Daytona strategy, Corey. They're running the high line on lap 1. Then I think on lap 2, you might see them migrate down after they build up that momentum.
Yeah, we do have you know, a little bit more horsepower than we've had in the past here at Chicago. We have 670, but 670 is not the, you know, the 800 plus that we're used to from years past here. So not a surprise that they are going to try to build some speed up and ensure they have all that as we take the stripe. Looks like we're focusing on Preston McRae, who's always a YouTube favorite in the chat. So we'll see what he can run in that Monster Energy nice looking ride here tonight.
It is a gorgeous looking car, and he is on his first timed lap and actually still running the high line even on the timed lap. So seems to be where he's comfortable, and man, he does look comfortable getting through that corner. He's not sawing on the wheel, not cranking on it. He's kind of he's driving like Kevin Harvick. He's got his hand on the wheel, real steady, and just kind of taking it easy. But there we go, down to the bottom now. So just trying different lines, seeing what works. Nothing wrong with trying different lines. There's Brandon Pierce for Silver Bullet Racing. Again, as Cam put it, Silver Bullet Racing was suffering from success. They didn't get to practice for this race because they were all locked in. Didn't have to run the Open. So Brandon seeing what he can do, putting down a pretty solid time so far, and a unique looking 38. I don't think I've seen that paint scheme debuted for Brandon yet. looks pretty good out there, but a lot of new paint schemes, as our producer points out. Real quick, the provisional poll is going to go to Bryce Nixonbaugh as they stand. Of course, drivers still posting times. Kevin Steele was all the way up to second. He just got bumped down to fifth. And we got a new pole sitter, Corey. Robert Miller in the 15 with a 30.18. That's almost identical to the lap time we saw in the Open.
Yeah, that is Hixenbaugh just picked it up on his second lap. He ran about in the threes. Now he's going to run a 2:21, so that's only about 400ths off. So again, tight times on our provisional poll as we have the 83 of Benefiel on the screen. We expect him to be up there and in contention. We'll see what he's able to muster on his qualifying lap.
Adam Benefiel, of course, always a contender in this league, and it seems like his season has just been getting better. You know, bit of a slow burn. It started out this year, he was kind of not very confident. He had a few bad runs in a row, wasn't feeling too great about the whole thing, and then slowly but surely, the finishes we expect out of Adam started to show back up, and he's just been running better and better. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. Damaris Hickenbottom, double duty tonight. He's going to be working some race control and driving, as per usual. Not a position I envy, but he pulls it off pretty dang well. I think this lap may be not counted. He did scrape the wall. I saw some sparks there.
Field did manage to put it up in the top 5 in the fourth spot, and do want to give some credit to Kyle Ammon. We don't usually see him qualify too well, but EPI bringing the nice piece. And Benefiel, there he goes on lap number 2. Lap number 2 seeming to be the fastest of the 2 laps here tonight, Andre.
Yeah, lap number 2 definitely seems to be where these guys are quicker. They build up that momentum. Lap 1, lap 2 is the hot lap, and Adam Benefiel takes the pole by about 700ths of a second. So very, very small margin, but go ahead.
I've been told my accent's coming out, so I'll say that Benefiel ran wicked fast. Was that the one car? Dustin Hall running the old school iRock ride. That's a sweet livery right there on that number 1 machine. We'll see. He's going to wait to the last seconds of qualifying to put that one on the board. We'll see where he can muster.
Be waiting for the track conditions to change a little bit. I can't imagine they're going to change too much from the beginning of qualifying until now, but he's out on track. And you're right, that is a very unique paint scheme. Do not see cars like that very often. Again, throw back the old iRock series, which I'm very partial to. I love going back and watching those old races and the very equal cars and just put on some great shows. Very nostalgic paint scheme Dustin's got on there. Down to the low line now. I think this is going to be his hot lap. Let's see where he puts it on the pylon. Rocketing out of turn 4. And it looks like...
Oh, he didn't make it. He didn't make it. Akin to Auto Club in 2020 qualifying, where he didn't get his qualifying lap in, but we're going to be getting ready and gridding for our first stage, aka our first heat race of the evening for your 100% All-Star race.
Man, oh man, that is disappointing. He was so close to that start-finish line. I mean, just a few feet away. We got the starting lineup officially as they run. Adam Benefiel takes the pole right alongside Robert Miller. Just 700ths of a second between them. Bryce Nixonbaugh, 1/10 back from them, is going to spearhead row 2 alongside Lucas Hoitzma. Kyle Ammon, he got a win in one of the stages in the Open. Who not only raced his way in, but then qualified in the top 5. A lot of speed in that machine. Kevin Steele with an impressive 6th place qualification run, 3/10 back from our leader. And it looks like row 4 is going to be Cody Bird and Brandon Pierce. Cody Bird in the top 10. What a run for him. Preston McRae, Mason Lowry. Of course, you mentioned it, Corey. Preston's always a bit of a YouTube favorite, and he's having a pretty good qualifying effort, and hopefully going to have a good race tonight. And I'll hand it off to you for the drivers outside the top 10.
Yep. Commentator from the Open, Cam Stone in 11th, and we have Neil Pearson had a good run in 12th. Jason Taylor 13th, RJ Root in 14th. Our other person from our Open broadcast, Dustin Hall 15th, Sean O'Brien 16th, and then rounding out our 19-car grid, Ryan Samuelson, admin Damaris Hickenbottom, and Jason Baker. That'll round out your 19-car grid here this evening.
So a pretty good field for an all-star race. I think this is very similar to what we had last year as well. And Adam Benefiel will be the control car in that filter time number 83. And Robert Miller is going to have to work with his teammate. I'd say, if you're not going to get the pole, at least you got the benefit of having a teammate behind you. you know they're not going to do anything too crazy early on. And Bryson Ixenbaugh in that beautiful, I got to say it, beautiful knee-high septic Camaro. You got to love it. The yellow, the brown, it just, beautiful paint scheme. Glad Bryson broke it back out for the All-Star race. It's been a while since we've seen a knee-high car out there, but Kyle Amon, Kevin Steele. I know Kevin Steele is going to be driving like he's got a fire lit under him. He was very frustrated with last week's outcome, and I'm excited to see what he does this week. Pace car pulls off, makes that hard left turn, and Adam Benefiel, he's not going to waste any time. Gets on the loud pedal as soon as he can. Robert Miller slots into second behind him. Bryson Hixenbaugh in third, and Lucas Hoitzma going to drop back a little bit, be side by side for third. Kevin Steele watching it all unfold in front of him as now he's got Kyle Amon making the move down low, and behind them, Brandon Pierce watching them battle. And then you got a bit of a gap there to Mason Lowry, so some breathing room, but a lot of battles up front.
Yeah, Field didn't hold on to the lead at all because here comes Miller on, at the end of the back straightaway on lap number 1. He's going to take the lead the first lap. Benefield's going to go from the pole to potentially third after one lap. Hixenbaugh goes down to the flat there on the tri-oval, trying to take that lead, and he's just choo going to the back of the train here. Hoitzma's going to try to take advantage of it as well. Benefield not starting this stage off the way he'd like to.
Yeah, definitely going in the wrong direction right now, but I'm not very concerned. Adam Benefiel is the definition of a long stint driver. He likes to have that long run speed, and you don't often see him get out to an immediate heater. This is kind of the way he drives. So for him to drop back a little bit now, not very concerning. I'm sure once those tire pressures come to him and everything kind of sets up, he'll have some speed. He is going to make a move now on Bryson Hixenbaugh to the quarter panel. He's going to side draft him a little bit, but of course not as effective in this next gen car. Side drafting not doing as much as it used to. Still going to make that move clear into second. Sight set on Robert Miller. So it didn't take very long for that 83 to come to him, as Lucas Hoitzma right on the bumper. You've got 3 cars under a blanket, and Bryson not in an enviable location. He's got cars behind him, cars in front of him. He's going to move to the high line and give himself some breathing room, as Adam's going to arc it out of the corner and a little bit loose there. That's going to give the run to the 63.
Yeah, the 63 going to try to go for the crossover, get him right back there, and kind of alluding to what you were talking about. Like, oh, you can see some wiggles from Benefield there in that second lane. Hoitzma's going to try to take advantage of it, get to the left rear. He's going to decide to pull in line, but kind of going to your point of Benefield being a long-run driver, Andre, 30 laps, does that constitute a long run? It's kind of right on that borderline of, is that going to work to his advantage, or is it going to be his detriment being such short stages here? I guess we'll have to find out, as Kevin Steele to the inside of Hoitzma. Steele, probably one of the best runs, at least I've seen thus far for him, as he's knocking on the door inside that top 5. And just behind that, you have our transfer driver, Kyle Amon, and then Brandon Pierce. So basically our top 7 or so drivers within about a second and a half, close proximity of each other.
Yeah, that 83, I'm following along with him. You mentioned the wiggles just getting a little bit loose, and he's doing it every corner. That thing does not look stable, which is really surprising to me. We're on lap 6 now. I feel like the heat getting in the tires and the pressure's kind of getting where they need to be for their optimal pressure. I would have thought that car would have sorted itself out by now, but it is still wicked. I mean, it's not a slow car by any means. He's up there in third battling for a podium, but it's just not comfortable with it. And I got to wonder if that's going to come to him, or if he's just built this setup to be as fast as it can be on a short run, and that speed comes at the cost of its stability. As Kevin Steele, you mentioned him there, Corey, having a great night so far. He's in 5th. They're double wide in front of him, so he's going to be able to close the gap a little bit here. We talked a little bit about some paint schemes tonight, and I got to give a shout out to Kevin's paint scheme here. Kevin, of course, the owner of Apex Designs, makes all his own paint schemes, makes a lot of paint schemes for some of the guys in the league as well. Always does a fantastic job, and that is one gorgeous looking 24 car out there. I gotta say, love the colors. Kind of a unique pairing you don't really see on the 24 too often. With all that white, the teal blue, it's pretty good looking. But man, yeah. Oh man. Oh, as Carlos points out, yeah, it does kind of remind us of the old Looney Tunes cars from back in the early 2000s. That's a throwback.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think with the one Looney Tunes scheme that I remember Jeff Gordon running, he wrecked it about lap 30. So Hopefully Steele has a better result than that, but he is under high fire from that number 38 ride of Brandon Pierce, who's also, again, under fire from Ammon, who did lose a couple spots on that opening get-go. You can see 3 different lines between the 5, the 38, and the Hoytsma. Again, just the benefit of Chicagoland Speedway presenting itself. You can really run anywhere on the track. Here comes 38 of Pierce. He's going to dive to the inside, and you can see that 24 of Steele rim riding it there. Looks like he got a little bit loose through all those bumps there through 3 and 4. Guys just duking at it. Pace slap formation here a third of the way into the stage.
Yeah, this is some awesome battling. Even all the way up into lap 10, you would think things would have settled down by now, but these guys are putting on a great show. Kyle Ammon now making a move on Hoytsma. A huge run out of the corner. That's going to get him completely side by side. No question about it now. Going into 3 and 4, can he complete this overtake? Yes, he can. And that is going to put him into P6 as Brandon Pierce continues to try to run down Kevin Steele in the 24. Who himself is actually running down Adam Benefiel. So kind of a gaggle of cars here that'll be competing for position. And up front, I got to point out, we haven't talked about it a whole lot. Bryson has really hit on something these last few laps. He's actually closed in on Robert Miller a little bit. And even the laps where he's not closing, he's at least running equal. So seems to have a car comparable to Robert. And if he could just close this gap a little bit more, get that draft down the straightaway, I think we got a battle brewing here.
Yeah, but one we do have to consider, because again, this is All-Star Night, so of course we all need to open our encyclopedias as to how it's going to work out. So the final 4 finishers from this event will be removed, so that's something that we do need to focus on as well as the fact that we are going to have a full field invert. So winning the stage is all well and dandy, but you got to remember how the long-term consequences of that. You're going to be in the back for the last half of this race, and you're going to have to plow forward. So you have guys now, such as Cameron Stone, Dustin Hall. I mean, irony enough, they're kind of in a good position for an invert because they're not going to go first to last. So kind of just other variables to consider as this stage continues.
All-Star Night, never making things too simple or too easy on the commentators, for sure. But you mentioned the last 4 drivers are going to be booted out of the session. You don't qualify if you can't finish above that final 4. And right now, the 4 drivers that are on the cut line, Cody Bird, Sean O'Brien Jr., Damaris Hickenbottom, Ryan Samuelson, those are the 4 that will be removed if they can't pick up some positions here. But it's not said and done. Cody Bird is really close. If you look at the scoring and timing, he's only about a 10th back from Jason Taylor in that 12 machine. We got it on the 3-wide TV multicam. Top of your screen, that's the battle for the transfer. Cody Bird right on the bumper with some slower cars in front.
Yeah, all 4 of those drivers, essentially any 4 of those drivers, McRae, Baker, Bird, and Taylor, essentially any of them with the wrong move could be bumped out. Bird's going to try to go around the outside right now.
A little bit of contact with Baker. They were able to keep it sorted and cordial, but if he can just get around him there, is that going to put Cody up into the transfer? Yes, it will. Still side by side as Jason Baker is trying to take the low line and slides up, has to lift. Jason just not able to maintain that bottom lane. Seems like the car wanted to push tight, and he made a good call there getting out of the throttle when he did. That could have been bad for both of them. That was smart driving that ultimately saved them. That puts Cody just inside of the cut line, and now it's Baker that has to battle for survival in this format. As he is 16th, he'll be the first one removed as it stands, and behind them, all the same as it was prior. Sean O'Brien Jr., Mars Hickenbottom, Ryan Samuelson. Samuelson falling quite a ways back, actually, almost at danger of going a lap down.
Now, if you're Cody Bird right now, do you want to stay exactly where you are so you're leading this thing for stage 2?
Well, you know, it's a risk versus reward. If you can intentionally finish 15th and you're confident in that, getting that good starting position, that's a good idea. But, man, you are playing with fire. Because if you make one mistake, if you get loose one time, if you scrape the wall one time, if somebody wrecks in front of you and you just have to slow down for it, and the guy behind you doesn't slow down for it, well, he's going to snag that transfer away from you, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's a very fine line that you're walking if you were to try to take that strategy. If I'm Cody Bird, I think I'm going to pass as many cars as I can. Because even if you finish 12th, 13th, roundabout, not only do you have more of a buffer to the cut line, but you're still going to be starting pretty far up. I mean, if you finish 15th, 14th, you're going to be, what would that be, 4th, 5th in the actual next stage. So it would still be a good spot to be in, and you'd be a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, that's a good point. We did have a brief battle for the lead. Hixenbog kind of got a good run through 3 and 4 about a couple laps ago. Was side by side, but Miller was able to persevere and hang on to the lead for the time being. So they are still in that situation, about 2 seconds ahead of Kevin Steele. So those top two essentially shot out of a cannon now. And talking about Benefield, he's on screen right now in front of Hoytsman. We were talking about Benefield maybe having that long run car and using what we've known him to do as a long run driver. Well, either he didn't hit the setup or he's playing the all-star shenanigans in the invert status, because now he's back to just hanging on to the back end of the top 10.
Yeah, definitely dropping some positions and maybe playing the invert. I'm not 100% sure, but that's the thing with Adam, man. He could do the craziest thing on track, and you'd never know if it was intentional or not, because he's just one of those drivers that keeps you on your toes. Always has just the craziest strategies that he pulls, and what's even weirder is that oftentimes it works. The strategies he pulls, they tend to work out for him. So we'll keep an eye on him. We're not going to count him out yet, even though he is kind of slipping through the running order.
It's hard to tell though, because I think he is engaging Jello status, because essentially every corner he is wiggling, and that car is just not handling too well. At least doesn't seem it. Anyways, he's gonna have to make some adjustments in this intermission between sessions.
And it's just like Cam and Dustin were talking about in the open. When you slide like that, it's not just wearing your tires out quicker, and it's not just costing you time in the moment. It's heating those tires up, and they're going to stay hot going into the next corner, and then you have less grip, which then makes you slide again. And it's just kind of a self-filling cycle at that point, where you're sliding because your tires are hot, but your tires are hot because you're sliding. So what do you do at that point? Really, you just have to back off and hope to get those tires down to temperature. But like you said, Corey, just sliding every single corner for that 83 does not look super stable. One driver who does look pretty good out there right now, how about that 6th place driver, Dustin Hall? Didn't complete his qualifying run there, did not make it to the line, and ended up starting towards the tail end of the field. Now he's knocking on the door of the top 5.
Yes, he is. And, that Crown Royal iRock machine is, here he goes on Ammon. I did see, we didn't have it on screen, but Ammon was actually battling even 2 laps ago on Brandon Pierce, and he just lost it. I think all we're talking about with tires is very important, because when you do overheat the tires, they essentially get a cycle on them. They cure when they get super hot, and they never recover. It's not something like that used to happen on iRacing, where you can let them cool down and get another run at it. Once you get those tires mad, they're basically you don't get rid of them until divorce on a pit stop when you get a new set. So I think Ammon may have done that, as Hall will go into the top 5, and now we'll see if Stone, he'll be the next one for Ammon to try to hang on to.
As you saw on camera there, Ryan Samuelson brought his car down to pit road. That's basically going to confirm that he's not going to make the cut line for tonight, and barring some extreme circumstance, so that's unfortunate for him. Makes things a little bit easier for some of these drivers on the cut, though. Speaking of the cut, right now it's Sean O'Brien Jr. Mason Lowry has slipped back into the cut zone. Damaris Hickenbottom in 18th, and of course, as we mentioned, Samuelson coming down pit road pretty much sealed his deal there. Bottom of your screen, 3YTV Multicam, those are some of the cut drivers, Damaris, Mason. Top of the screen, you're focusing on Cameron Stone. I almost said Cameron Steele. That's a motocross guy, I'm pretty sure. That would have been the wrong Cameron, but Cam Stone trying to work his way around some cars right behind Kyle Ammon, slowly closing the gap there. It's only 5 to go in this stage. Miller's lead is, well, it's not much of a lead, guys. Look at that timing and scoring 1/10 back to Hixenbottom.
Yeah, I'll tell you, he's made a couple attempts, but it seems once you make a move, if it doesn't stick, essentially you do have to reset. So the tires must be a little bit forgiving in some capacity, but we've seen it many times tonight where it's a lane guessing game. If the 15 doesn't have the full pace of the 63, can I guess where he's going to go? Can I take that air away? Yep, I'm going to take the top away. I'm going to make him go to the bottom. The bottom in 1 and 2 isn't really ideal, so the 63 is nearly going to hit that Brandt fence there off of 2. We'll go down the back straightaway. We'll see what happens here. I think you want to be on the bottom in 3, at least to my novice driving skill abilities. And here goes Hixenball with that side-by-side move. Just doesn't have enough mode on there, and the 15's going to get the run on exit.
Yeah, the 15 got a phenomenal run. I mean, they were side by side coming out of the corner, and then by the time they got to 1 and 2, he was up to 2 or 3 car lengths. Bryson, I think, has the faster car at the moment. It's just really difficult to pass. We saw this in the open. If you're the leader, you've got a lot in your toolbox that you can work with to keep these guys behind you. If you can put them in dirty air and you can just take their line away from them, it doesn't really matter if they're a little bit quicker than you because you're essentially handicapping them by putting them in that dirty air. Not only that, but you get to set the pace. Do you want to make them drive really hard? Well, just pick up the pace, drive your car hard, and then they got to do the same. They're going to wear out their tires. They're going to, really use up their equipment. Or if you want to take it easy, save your equipment, well, then you can do that. And then behind you, they're going to run a little bit slower as well. It's really just a lot of decisions that you get to make as the leader. And for Robert Miller, even though I don't think he's got the better car in this situation, he's got the better circumstance, and that's helping him to lead this race massively. We're coming to the white flag of the stage, and it's going to be a battle. Bryson is definitely within striking distance. He's going to take it down low in 1 and 2, just above that bottom groove towards the middle, and as they exit, he's going to stay right on the bumper. Can he make a last-minute lunge here in 3 and 4? Down to the bottom, he drives it in deep.
He's gonna send it.
Oh, they're side by side.
Can he clear? Can he clear? No, he can't.
He's not clear.
Oh, contact!
Bryson through the grass. He's going to finish second in the stage, but can he keep it straight? Yes, he can. He gets it back on track. What a dramatic finish. And as for the drivers on the cut, Mason Lowry 16th, Sean O'Brien Jr. 17th, Damaris Hickenbottom 18th, Ryan Samuelson took it behind the wall not long ago in 19th. So those 4 drivers are eliminated. Jason Baker just barely squeaks into the last transfer position, as well as Cody Bird working his way all the way up into, I believe, 12th in that stint. So, man, that was quite the ending there to that stage, Corey.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything on the line for the stage win besides the pride, but he definitely went for it and made it exciting for us. So glad to see that. So now what we're having, the first stage was a heat race per se. So now we are entering what will be the server for stage 2 and 3. We have 50 laps on our scoreboard, which will be divvied up into 40 and 10. Caution laps will not count. So at lap 40, we'll get a caution. Caution laps will not eat into that as they did in the opening segment. And then we're going to have a 10-lap dash to the end. And the field is inverted. Of course, that is the most important part of that. The field is inverted. So as we talked about, it's going to be very interesting to see if Miller and company can get through the mess.
Yeah, they're going to have to work their way through the field, and another driver having to work towards the front is going to be Dustin Hall. And for him, well, he already did it once. He's got experience that some of these guys don't that are starting behind him. Dustin started at the back of the field, raced his way all the way up into the top 5. Now he's going to have to do it all over again, and that's kind of where the format kind of came back to bid him. But we know he's got a fast car, so I'm sure he's got some confidence in that. And it's just going to be... Man, I would say a high-speed game of chess, but I feel like it's going to be more chaotic than a game of chess. This is going to be, I believe, 15 cars that are just scrambling for every single position they can get. I mean, you got the slower cars, or the cars that didn't perform quite as well in the first stage up front, the faster cars in the back. I mean, this is kind of a collision course.
Yeah, but we do have, 40 laps is not a it's not a full fuel run. It's not a super long run, but it's a long enough stint that you don't really have to go absolute full send on lap 2 as in the 10 laps into the end, you're going to have to go for it. So you can use a modest amount of patience as long as you're really in the top 4. I would say going into the final segment, you should be in a decent enough position to make something happen, but we'll see how clean air affects it. Can they get through? Is it, have guys been sandbagging? These are all questions that we're going to have to ask. So we'll wait for that pace car to make its, as we've seen, very awkward entrance into the Chicago pit lane. And the 51 of Baker. And it's going to be the Jason and Jason show on that front row. We'll let this get underway.
Jason and Jason show, but one of them spins their tires. Jason S. Taylor loses some ground there. That's going to open up the door for Hoytsma as Baker is going to try to get into turn 1 and put these guys in dirty air, make that car wide. Hold on to that lead there, Baker. Preston McRae to the bottom of Neil Pearson, who, remember, made it to this All-Star with some really quick wit, some really great strategy, some great planning. Will Pearson really making a name for himself here in this All-Star race. Up on the high line, right behind Cody Bird. Got a little bit of a shove
He's
into
gonna
the
split
corner.
the middle.
Cameron Stone, as you said, split in the middle, Corey.
Not wasting any time, and you know, I said you could use a little bit of patience. Well, I don't think the memo got to the 57 camp there, because he definitely went for it very early on. Wants to get it while the tires are fresh and while everybody is kind of close quarters racing. So you can see some good racing on screen. 38 and the 5 on our display right now with Justin Hall behind. That is for 10th, 11th, and 12th. We can tell you that the Miller and Hexenbaugh haven't really gone anywhere. Still 13th and 14th right now.
Well, and it's easy to see why they haven't gone anywhere. They are 3 wide in front of these guys, and they've got to be patient here. They can't just make moves willy-nilly. They got to make sure that wherever they put their car, they're comfortable with it, and they're confident they're going to make it through to the other side. And when you got three wide in front of you, there's just not a whole lot to work with there. So they're playing it patient, playing it smart. Like you said, this stint is a little bit longer than our opening heat race there. So we're able to kind of afford ourselves some patience. And I think Bryson and Robert know that. But you do want to get up front eventually. You don't want to be too far back, because that 10-lap dash at the end, that's not a whole lot of racing. That's kind of the point where track position is king. It's going to matter above all else. So be patient, but not too patient, which I think is kind of the story of motorsports in general. I also want to point out, Cameron Stone, all the way up to 5th now. He's making the move on Cody Bird on the high line. Made some pretty bold moves, like you pointed out, Corey. 3 wide, splitting the middle. Wasn't that the guy that was telling us tire preservation was going to be key?
The same thing as on the official side of iRacing. The guy who always says don't wreck and be patient is the one that always causes the wreck. So typically, once you give advice, you never heed to it. So clearly he's doing that. Will it pay the price on lap 35 of this run? Well, time will tell. But the Jason and Jason show has been split up by Hoytsma, who, like 2 trailer park girls, he's rounding that outside, trying to get the run on Baker, trying to take this lead in the final segment.
And man, what a run it was, right on the rear bumper. And he's not letting go. Baker gets a little loose in the corner. That opens the door up. Lucas holds it firm to the bottom. What a move. When that 51 got squirrely in front of him, Lucas never even hesitated. He took that opportunity just immediately, which is, man, I know it didn't look like much on camera, but to not lift when you got a guy sideways in front of you, that is a bold move.
Well, I just saw just behind this, Stone was in the middle of another sandwich there with Benefiel and Baker. Benefiel, I don't know if he was sandbagging. It seems as though he was, because here he is trying to make a move. But look at the 12s. Benefiel getting loose again. The 12 had to go to the top of the racetrack. RJ Root getting in the mix. Where's he going to go? Is he going to split the middle? That 8 machine getting in the mix here.
RJ, of course, Cameron's teammate, so you know he's got a similar setup. Definitely has a comparable speed to Cameron Stone. And in regards to Adam Benefiel up here, was he sandbagging? I don't know. He, like I said, he's one of those drivers that it doesn't matter where he's at on lap 1, doesn't matter where he's at on lap 20. Only time
Baker going for the lead again. Sorry to cut you off. Baker going for the lead to the inside. I think the Holtzman may have hit the wall there. If he didn't, there was a paper with him between it. And here comes Stone looking to the outside again in that Coors Light 57. He's going to take that second lane, see if he can get that Mo off of 4. Looks like he's going to stay in line now, but both of them closing in on Hoytsman. A 3-way battle for this race lead.
Yeah, there was, I don't think it was a question whether or not Lucas got into the wall there. There was more sparks than a dropped cigarette at a fireworks factory. He was really riding that wall. And Jason Baker now to the bottom, almost 3 wide. Cameron Stone's going to ride the coattails of the 51 up into second. And now he's just got 1 more car to pass before he can claim
3 wide again.
And 3 wide. Benefiel to the bottom. Lucas Hoytsma on top. Cameron Stone sandwiched in the middle. I never included Coors Light as an ingredient in a sandwich, but oh man,
still 3 wide. You'd think these guys were vested in the channel name here. So here we go, just making the channel name proud. 3 wide again. I think they've been 3 wide for essentially an entire lap. Benefiel's trying to hold it to the inside. He will have to back off. You can see RJ Root again running that Larson line there, an inch off the fence. He will kind of consolidate himself and get down the track just a little bit, but Benefiel now he's going to look in the middle and try to change lanes.
Adam Benefield could have shot back to the bottom there. He tried up top, didn't work. Now he's going to go back to the bottom. And this time they're only going to be too wide, so it'll be a little bit easier on him here. I can't give enough props to those guys. I can't tell you how difficult it is to run 3 wide and keep it clean, let alone to do so for a lap and a half. I mean, those guys were doing a phenomenal job.
Again, this is not Atlanta repave smooth as glass. This is a abrasive, bumpy surface that takes a wheelman to get around. So doing that in close proximity is not easy. Again, it just goes to the skill of the drivers in this race. But it's essentially, I think we joked about it a couple weeks ago about talking about rubber band effects, and these guys up front cannot get away from each other. Here goes Hoytsma again with a power move to the inside for the race lead.
Yeah, I think Lucas has a little bit of a better car at the moment than Baker. But the thing is, Lucas has not been very consistent. One lap he'll be faster. The next lap he makes a little bit of a mistake. He gets sideways. He gives that time right back up. And thing is, you could have the fastest car in the world, but if you can't consistently click off good laps, it doesn't matter. You've got to have that consistency. And I think that's where Baker has been so strong in this segment of the race. I mean, he's not made a mistake. He was great on the restart. He was great after that. I mean, he had everybody battling behind him. He's been challenged for the lead on numerous occasions, and he's not cracked under pressure. He's held his line. He's done everything he needs to do to hold on to that lead, even though he may not have the fastest setup. And man, what a drive it has been for him as he continues to hold Lucas Weitzman behind him. And now Lucas, he's got even more pressure on him to make this move if he can, because RJ Root, where did he come from? I don't know, but he's on the podium now in front of his teammate, Cameron Stone. He's going to try to make a move up top. These Silver Bullet cars are on rails, and another move for the lead as Root gets loose. Behind them, they're going to go side by side. Root closing in through the tri-oval. Does he try to make a move in 3 and 4? Does he go 3 wide like we saw earlier? Let's find out. He is going to go to the very top. If that 3 wide opportunity presents itself, he will take it. But so far, doesn't quite have the momentum. Just almost scraping the wall. He's able to keep it clean. A good push to the 51. And again, Corey, look at the defense from this 51. Could it get any better?
He's running both lanes, doing exactly what he needs to do, but he left the top open enough for Root to get to the outside. And then Hoytsma's trying to find space there, but 51 is blocking him. Now here comes Stone to the outside. Are we going to go 3 wide again? And 1 and 2. Root running that top of the track, getting it wound up as much as he can. Stone just behind, trying to see what he can do. And these guys are giving an inch, if that, of space to each other. 3 wide down the back, straight away again. Stone to the inside.
And here we go again, ladies and gentlemen. 3 wide on 3 wide TV, and it looks like Cameron Stone will make the slide jump and get loose. He's wrecking sideways through the corner. Brandon Pierce barely able to avoid him, and Cam's going to skid it through the infield into the grass. No yellow flag so far, keeping it straight. Man, oh man, that is heartbreaking.
Akin to Ricky Rudd 2001. How did he save that car? He's just that daggum good. He managed to keep it going, and we didn't catch, but Adam Benefield did get sponsored by IHOP, by the way, because the right side of his car is absolutely pancaked, so severe damage to that 83.
All right, so we're back to the puns, I see. Okay.
It's
well,
fun
anyways,
night.
As Cameron Stone has fallen to the clutches of Chicagoland and had his field trip through the infield there, in light of that, his teammate was actually able to take advantage. RJ Root made the move into the lead. Now he's got Lucas Hoytsma right behind him trying to take it back, but RJ, he's got a lot of speed. He races way up through the field. He was one of the few cars that was able to really easily make overtakes from what we've seen. I mean, we've been watching Lucas Hoytsma, Cameron Stone. These guys try to make overtakes lap after lap that just never come to fruition. Meanwhile, RJ Root, he's up there making moves, slicing through the field like butter. Now he's got the point. All he's got to do is play some defense. I got to say, Corey, the way this race has gone, it seems like defense is the advantageous position. That's what you want to be playing.
Yeah, it seems like just later in the run, as a lot of tracks tend to do this both on the iRacing service and in the real world, where after 15, 20 laps, the high line can become the dominant line, where the inside definitely takes those power moves to take advantage of them, as we saw Stone do, and we saw how that worked out for him. So if you're Hoytsma, maybe the best thing to do is just to stay put and not fall too far back. Because remember, we have that 10-lap segment, and I'm hearing a big oh no from our producer.
Yeah, Baker got a lot of damage there hitting the wall, and he's actually fallen back to this next gaggle of cars, which I was going to mention. Bryson Nixonbaugh has raced his way all the way up into 5th, and he has brought a whole line of cars with him. Behind him, he's got Brandon Pierce, Robert Miller, Cody Bird. These guys are all under a blanket battling for position. For a moment before Baker had that big moment, Bryson was actually 3 wide with Kevin Steele and Brandon Pierce. So just as we were seeing up front, these guys a little bit further back are they're not playing very nice either. They're being real aggressive back here. There goes Bryson to the bottom of Kevin Steele, and he's going to try to make it work as close to the grass as he can get in that knee-high septic machine. 24 holding strong on the high line, though. Kevin Steele trying to hold on to this podium. What a night it would be for Kevin if he could get a podium here in the All-Star. But, man, it's not going to be easy. Bryson trying to give him a hard time down on the low line. Robert Miller also in tow, and got to give a shout out to Baker as well. I mean, he's got some pretty substantial damage from Pancake in the wall, but still holding pace.
So we always talk about how the next gen cars, they're either tanks or they're made of paper mache. So in the case of the 51, it seems the first one is what he is made of tonight. So we'll see what he can do, and maybe he can get it fixed to be in top performance for the second stage. Here comes Miller to the outside of Hixenbaugh. He just ran that little bit higher line. That gave him the mow. Now he's going to have the tow from Steele down the back straightaway into 3. I personally want to be Hixenbaugh on the bottom in 3 and 4, but now he's going to be slowed up by the 24 to his outside. So now the push. Now look at that amazing push. Look at that bump drafting on the tri-oval here. Not really sure if you want to do that, but it definitely gave Steele that edge.
Yeah, I don't know about bump drafting, but I do think regular old drafting as we go 3 wide again. Robert Miller in the middle, and he's going to not lift out of this. He's not giving up the position. Nobody is. They're going to go into turn 3 wide. 63 taking a very shallow entry. He's going to have to lift as Kevin Steele drops back 2 wide, and now sorting it out, looks like Robert Miller is going to be up into the podium, and Kevin getting a good run out. That'll put him in 4th, and Bryson settles back into 5th. But man, oh man, up front we got to move for the lead now. Potentially Lucas tried to get to the bottom of the number 8. He had a good corner, but just couldn't really compete with that high line momentum out of RJ Roots. Now he's going to try it again down to that white line. You can see he closes in the middle of the corner, but coming out, man, that 8 car is shot out of a cannon, and there he goes again.
Now there's something. It's kind of an interesting point that sometimes these drivers will actually set their car up to be better in traffic if they expect to be in traffic for a long portion of the run. And when you get up front, you know, your car may be over loose, over tight, just depending how you had to adjust it for the traffic. And it seems like that might be the case with these guys out front, because as soon as one of them passes each other, they get in that clean air and they don't go anywhere. They've passed each other 3 or 4 times now. So here comes Hoytsma with another move to the inside off of 3 and 4. And we're coming to, about 12, 13 laps to go in this segment, leading into our 10-lap finale. So and there's not going to be an invert. So the leader of this end of the stage is going to lead that 10-lap final segment. So definitely this is important.
It is very important. Look at this run from the number 8. It looked like the 07 had all but sealed the deal, but no. That 8 fighting back up there. He was able to get back side by side. Coming through 3 and 4, I think we're going to see another good run out of Route. And we do. The 07, of course, has the advantage of being able to go all the way down to the grass, make this travel as short as possible. Not an advantage that he'll necessarily have on the back straightaway. So again, I think this is where it's going to play into the hands of that 8 machine. Let's watch what happens. Coming out of the corner, another good run on the high line is going to keep them side by side. I don't know what Lucas has to do to complete this pass. I don't know what more he really can do. He's given it all it's got down on that white line. A little bit squirrely there, and actually might have played to his advantage. I think him getting squirrely kind of scared the 8 into lifting. That canceled out his run, the momentum he was going to have. So now into 1. Advantage goes to Lucas Hoytsma on the bottom there, but man, I don't think either of these guys has an advantage.
No, I think the best thing for Hoytsma to do is to stay side by side, or maybe get a skosh ahead at the end of the backstretch, because you can do the, as the kids would say, the full yeet to the inside and then pull off that slider. Kind of what he's doing right now. You can't really do it in 1 and 2, but the only backstab to that is it doesn't give you the momentum on exit. So we'll see if Root is able to get that momentum back. He is not able to, but just behind this, Hicksonbaugh and Miller playing a little bit of a position swap there for third and fourth. Hicksonbaugh will have it for the time being, and here comes Miller with the crossover to the inside. Remember, these were the top two for the first segment. They had to go to the back, and here they are battling for third and fourth. And again, Hoytsma just in front of them is starting to pull away by a few car lengths.
Yeah, Robert was actually closing in on the leaders, but he's gotten loose a few times, snapping loose, having to save it, giving up time.
Baker
That's
to pit
allowed
road.
Bryson to close in there for second place, as he is going to make the move here. But we do have cars down pit road, so this is some strategy starting to play out. Could just be that he has damage, maybe wants to get it fixed up. We'll keep an eye on the rest of the field, see what they do in response. But here we go, back to the battle for second place. Bryson Hicksonbaugh down low. RJ so strong on the high line. This is not going to be an easy pass, Corey.
Not all, especially at this point in the run where, again, the top is kind of the benefit to be in. So we'll see if as long as Root doesn't make too much of a mistake, I think he'll be able to retain the spot. You get to see how much time he was able to gain on exit there. Hicksonbaugh lost literally about half a second in just one corner. So definitely not what he needs. He's going to have to regroup and see if he's going to be able to make something happen in the next 8 or 9 laps.
Yeah, he's going to have to try to regroup and see what he can do here, as he has dropped back a ways. Robert Miller right behind him. Kevin Steele still strong in fifth there, and not a whole lot of pressure from behind. The next car back is Brandon Pearson sixth, and he's about a whole corner back from these guys. So Kevin having a really good run tonight. Seems like the old Ace Moneymaker boys have really found a good setup, because they're all doing pretty well. You got Kevin Steele there in fifth. You've got Bryson Hicksonbaugh in third. Cody Bird having a pretty solid night for himself as well. He's all the way up in seventh. So very good top 10 run. I mean, basically all the Ace Moneymaker guys are up there in the top 10. It has been a phenomenal night for these guys. In fact, yes, they are all in the top 10. Preston McRae as well is in ninth. So, man, what a night.
And something to note is, remember, we have as we do have a second, third, and fourth shuffling at it. So obviously a 40-lap run, Andre, that's going to be enough where handling and setup is genuinely going to come into it. But we saw the absolute hoopla that occurred for the first 10, 15 laps of this race, all the 3-wide shuffling and all this nonsense. When we come to this next segment, we know all these guys can go full send for 10 laps, and essentially the tires are enough to equal out any kind of setup differentiation. So I'm really looking forward to these next 10 laps after this segment change, because I think really anybody in the top 6 can do it, and who knows if we're if everyone's going to be on their wheels, and if we're not going to have a big one with all the crazy racing.
You say top 6. I think anybody on the lead lap's going to have a chance at it with this 10-lap dash, because, well, you called it. You know, the potential for a big one is there. All these guys just going all out for such a short period of time, taking risks that they might not otherwise take. It's a recipe for some chaos, and definitely a recipe for some great racing. And I'm looking forward to it just as much as you are. And, you know, even right now, not even to the final stint here, and these guys are still just swapping positions. We got this revolving door for second place. RJ playing some really good defense, but he's got Robert Miller breathing down his neck. Bryson Hicksonbaugh as well, just waiting in the wings to try to take advantage of any little slip up they may make up there in front of him. And all the while, you got Lucas Hoytsma. He's driving away with it. He is probably screaming at the boss man, Robert Miller, saying, hey, hold him up some more. If you can stay side by side with him, do it. Because I'm liking this whole driving away deal.
He doesn't like the driving away part, but does he like the short stint no clean air part? That's what we're going to have to figure out, because it did take him some time to get to this spot. And, you know, you're not going to have that time in the next segment. We have 3 laps to go. Hicksonbaugh trying to get to the inside of Root. Remember, Root kind of shot out of a cannon, and a big wiggle from Hicksonbaugh there off of 2, and somebody in the grass. That's Kevin Steele. Talked about his great run. Talked about his great run. Unfortunately, it ends in the infield barrier.
That is a lot of damage to the left side of the car. Not exactly sure what initiated that.
Replay on screen for you.
Take a look at our 3-wide TV replay. Coming out of the corner, a little bit loose right there. You can see the front end washing out on him, Corey. And then right there, just a
Jello
bit of
mode was engaged. He was wiggle, 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 crash.
almost kept it off the wall too. That's That's disappointing.
So fortunately for him, he might mess around with it just to finish the last 10 laps, but obviously not going to have that top 5 run that he wanted to have. And getting cue that this is the white flag lap of segment number 2.
And in the meantime, Robert Miller did successfully get around RJ. I think RJ must have had a moment as well because he's dropped back substantially. He's nearly an entire straightaway back from these guys as Robert Miller moves up to P2. Bryson Ixenbaugh in third, but it is all Lucas Hoitzma up front. No pressure from behind. He's going to take the stage win here, but I don't think he's celebrating this one, Corey. In fact, I think he's probably a little bit nervous behind the wheel because I think they're all nervous, man. This 10-lap dash probably has all these guys on edge.
Yeah, and we do remember there is going to be a pit stop involved, so there's a very strong possibility that someone's going to speed, someone's going to overshoot their pit box. The pit crew just might not do their job. You might lose a spot, so it's not a guarantee that the 1, 2, 3, etc. that these guys are in is going to be how they're going to come off pit road for the last segment.
Yeah, there is no guarantees at all. You got to have a good stop, and you could make or break some track position depending on how good your team is, and you just got to hope that they get it right. I know the virtual iRacing pit crews have really struggled with these virtual single lug nut wheels, just really coming to grips with changing the code and figuring out how to get these tire swaps as efficiently as possible.
Hey, at least the tires have stayed on, unlike the real world counterparts.
That is true. No virtual spectators are in any virtual danger here on iRacing, unlike real life.
And no virtual crew chiefs have been suspended for 4 virtual races either. So, because actually, to be honest, if that happened, just imagine we do have teams, team owners, crew chiefs, spotters, all that stuff. If that ever did happen, there'd actually be some implications to how these teams operate. But we'll see what happens. Here we come down pit road for the money stop. I mean, literally, it is the money stop. I don't know if there's money on the line, but we'll make fun of it for the drama. Here they come for their pit stops for the final segment.
I don't know if there's money on it for the other guys, but if my team wants to get paid, they're gonna have a good stop.
So here comes. You can see because of their starting position, Hixenbaugh and Miller all the way on the entrance of pit road, or the far end of it. Rather, Hoitzma kind of has that opening, which probably helped him get into his stall. We'll see what the race is. There comes Hixenbaugh. There comes Miller. Jack drops. Uh-oh, Hoitzma's not coming out first.
Oh, man. It's been shuffled.
14-6 for Hoitzma to a 12-7 Hixenbaugh. Give that pits crew a high five.
And a raise. My goodness, what a stop for that 63 team. The knee-high septic machine out front. Oh, boy.
And I'm looking at the telemetry, Andre, in the back end here that I have. Everybody was in the 14-second bracket except for Hixenbaugh. Now, I wonder, was Hixenbaugh the only one smart enough to not take fuel? Perhaps that could have been what it was to shorten that stop, because almost 2 seconds faster for him. Something had to be going on in that 63 camp.
Yeah, he definitely took 4 tires. That much is known. We saw both sides of the car go up. But you're right, maybe just a little bit less fuel. Maybe not even that he took no fuel. He could have just taken a splash just to make sure that he could make it to the end, even though I'm pretty sure he easily could have without any fuel. But that 2-second advantage, you're absolutely right. Something was different there, and it got him the lead. And I believe we actually may have a lucky dog in Baker. He was 1 lap down at the beginning of this yellow flag.
Per the rules that I'm reading, there's not supposed to be a lucky dog, but if there is, then it happened. But
wave around. So we do have a wave around, and I believe that did go. No, that did not go to Baker.
Yeah,
Baker
we're not on one to go yet, so
we will see. I guess you are correct in the format there, but we do have the choose cone, as our producer is pointing out, Corey, and I believe that means that it isn't just the leader that gets to pick the lane. It is pretty much anybody in the field. You get to choose inside or outside, and that adds a whole lot of strategy, because if there is nobody on the outside and you are 6th or 7th in line, if you take the outside, well, you go from 7th in line all the way up to the front. So it is going to be pandemonium trying to figure out what lane they're going to choose.
Yeah, and obviously on the iRacing service, it's not fully implemented, so it's kind of going to be admin making sure that this does work out appropriately. But yeah, as you said, Do you want to be first on the inside? Do you want to be first on the outside? If you're second, which line do you want to be in? Now, on these restarts, it is beneficial to be on the inside, at least for the first lap. But if you're able to stay side by side off of two, it's definitely better to be on the outside. But let's see where everyone lines up.
Just want to point out we did have two cars take the wave around, Kevin Steele and Jason Baker catching up to the field now, but Bryson goes to the low line, Lucas Hoysma up top, Robert Miller down low, RJ Root takes fourth place up high. Brandon Pierce, Cody Bird is going to be row 3. And look at that, Cam Stone, after his ordeal, he's going to be there in row 4 on the inside, right alongside Preston McRae. Jason Taylor and Kyle Ammon, they're going to make up the next row back. Then you got Neil Pearson kind of on his own back there in front of these guys that took the wave around. But yeah, some interesting choices here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting indeed. And we'll see what's going to happen. Root is going to have to give Hoyt a good push. And naturally, Miller, he's going to have to give the 63 a good push. Or do they not give a push? They just immediately spread out. I mean, I guess we're going to have to find together. It's go time. There's absolutely no time for patience. Because if you do, you're not winning the race. So let's see what happens. The pace car is going to take his obtuse entry into the pits. And where is the go point? Very early in the box. There goes Hicksaball on that loud pedal.
It was a great start for pretty much everybody. I didn't see really any wheel spin throughout the field. So these guys are able to start this stage just as they should, right in proximity, in position. You kind of mentioned the question, does anybody push anybody, or do they all just scramble for position? I think we're going to see a bit of a scramble here. Lucas Hoytsma right behind Bryson. Now, Bryson's in a bit of unfamiliar territory here in the lead. He was battling for the lead earlier, but he never quite claimed it. So I'm not sure he knows how that car even handles in clean air, as he gets a little bit loose out of the corner.
They are 3 wide just behind them. I mean, Stone's been in about every single 3 wide battle that we've had thus far. I just saw that on screen, but we are battling for the lead up front. Hoytsma looking to the inside of Hicksaball. Didn't have enough. Again, that inside lane is just so hard to keep the momentum wound up, especially on exit. But them running side by side is good news for Miller, because that's going to get him into this mix, let him pull in a little bit closer. Here comes Hoytsma to the inside. Hicksaball couldn't hold the inside through 3 and 4. Going to be drag racing at the start finish.
Lucas got a good run out of the corner. You would not have expected that with him down low. Usually it's the high lane that gets a better exit, but Bryson just got a little bit loose. He had to lift, and look at this. What a run through the turn Bryson gets. That's going to put Lucas back to second. And behind him, Lucas has, Cameron Stone.
Root and Baker, Bird, a bunch of people spinning on the back straightaway. Kyle Ammon involved.
We'll have to take a look at our 3-wide TV replay when we get it dialed up, but that is heartbreaking for Bird. But he was having a great night prior to this. Let's see what kicked it off. Following along, RJ Root just gets really sideways.
Oh, that was a nasty right-hand hook. We talked earlier about how these cars will, they'll get loose instantly and then they'll bite back instantly. And definitely Root was not ready for that immediate bite back to the wall, and took out a couple of instant bystanders in the process.
Yeah, keep an eye on that steering wheel. You can see he's got that counter steer in, and then it just grabs. It grabs, takes him on a one-way trip to the outside wall, and it's just unfortunate there were some people caught up in that right behind him. I think we expected maybe some craziness in this final 10-lap shootout. I don't think we expected it to be towards the back of the field here. Following along again on this replay with Cody Bird. He had nowhere to go. He's right behind RJ when it snaps, and even if he had cranked the wheel left and let off the throttle right there, there was no avoiding that. And Preston McRae, largely the same situation. Just what do you do in that situation? Just hope for the best.
I do know when the broadcasts were on PTR TV, every time Bird had a webcam segment, he wrecked, and apparently the trend stays true on 3 wide. So we'll see how many more of these webcam races that Bird wants to do, because they never end up favorably for him. But at least up front, it's kind of a flip of a coin, in my opinion, Andre, of who is faster. It's really a matter between Hoytsma, Hicksaball, even Miller and Stone. Whoever has that high lane, especially through 1 and 2, is really the one who's had the advantage. And as long as you could play defense on that line, I think it's going to be tough to make the pass. But that the famous commentary line slide job, it started at this very track, so we can see if anything will ensue in that regard to conclude our race tonight.
Oh yeah, and I mean we've seen a few slide jobs already tonight. We saw some in the Open, we've seen some here in the All Star, and I think the only reason we're not seeing more of them is these guys have been kind of patient, for lack of better words. They knew that you can't win it on lap 1, you can't win it on lap 10, you can only win it on the last lap. And well, that time is quickly approaching. We are at the end of this thing, lap 43 out of lap 50. When we go green, it'll be 44 as we cross. So just 7 laps around this track to decide the race. And at that point, you're not going to be patient, Corey. If you got an opportunity to take a slide job and throw your car in front of somebody, you're going to do it.
Yes, you are. And I mean, I don't know what the implications are like from a from a getting in trouble perspective. At least in this race, when it comes to protesting and aggressive moves and wrecks, I don't know if there's any things on the line, any off limits, but I definitely think the boundaries will get tested because, again, I don't know what's on the line, if there's any prizes or anything like that, but pride is enough to make you want to go and win an all-star race. And if you're in a position and you see it, you got to go for it. Or as Ayrton said, if you don't go for the gap, you're not a race car driver.
I'm going to go ahead and add disciplinary on the list of words that we should stay away from alongside proverbial.
Well, at least one of us can say each one. We just can't both say them. We just can't both say them. So take that for what it's worth. But
we just got to swap the words around.
Precisely that. So I do know from I'm at least trying to make sure from because the caution laps do not count, and I do know because I do cover the iRacing Sprint Car Series race on my side. And whenever caution laps do not count, the pace laps are absolutely mind-bogglingly long. So I think that is what we're noticing here. It's been about 3 or 4 laps. Hopefully the lights come out this time by for us.
Wait and see. The lights do go out, so we'll be back to racing next time by. And man, oh man, I think Lucas Hoytsma has a bit of an advantage here that Bryson doesn't. Most of Bryson's team was just annihilated in that accident. He's got Preston McRae behind him, but there's a little bit of separation. Meanwhile, you've got the LMM boys. They're both lined up on the bottom. You got Robert Miller, Lucas Hoytsma. These guys are going to work together as much as feasible. Obviously, they're not going to, concede the win to somebody just because they're their teammate. But if they can link up, and we've seen the power of drafting and bump drafting and how effective that can be, if they can link up and draft and at least get themselves clear of these other guys before they start battling, they're going to do that. I mean, it's just beneficial to them. So that is probably a huge weight off of Lucas's shoulders to look in his mirror, see a teammate behind him, know that, yeah, if you can push me in front of the leader, I know you're going to do that. Bryson, well, he's all on his own. He's got Cameron Stone behind him, and Bryson and Cam, they're friends off the track. We hang out quite a bit. We play video games, the three of us, and things like that. But on the track, that's a bit of a different story. These guys got a history on track, and it's a very respectful rivalry, but a rivalry nonetheless. And I think we're about to see another chapter of it right now as the pace car pulls out. Lucas Hoytsma down to the bottom. What a fantastic start for Hoytsma and Robert Miller. They're going to leave the 63 in the dust. They're clear before turn 1. Now it's a side-by-side battle for 4th as Brandon Pierce tries to get to the low line here alongside his teammate and team owner, Cameron Stone.
Definitely seems that somebody's in the grass there. That's Jason Taylor in the 12. He got loose. Trying to see what happened to him, but either way, up front, definitely in close proximity, first, second, third. But it definitely looks like, Andre, the outside has been the lane not to be in. The wheel spin is a lot more aggressive up there for some reason. So hopefully, if there's another restart, these guys will take heed to that. As 63, I don't know what happened to the 15, but he didn't get through the center of 1 and 2 at all that time. And 63 got right to the back bumper. That checked him up. That gave Stone the opportunity to get to the inside entering 3. And now Stone's going to try to go 2 for 1, try to get to the inside of Miller at the same time. 63 wiggling on the top, tight quarters on the exit of the corner. And this is all letting Hoytsma pull away.
That it is. Robert is doing everything he can to play some aggressive defense here. Throwing some blocks. The 57 nearly had the run on him, but he just darted down 2 lanes of traffic.
Kyle Ammon, right-hand hook into the fence. Stay green.
No yellow flag as we got him
Get
away. Cam and Bryson. More cars involved. Brandon Pierce, I believe.
That'll throw the yellow flag out with 5 laps to go, and Stone was on his side there for a large portion of the back straightaway. It did start off with Ammon making a right-hand hook in the fence. We'll get that queued up on replay in just a moment, but definitely a big shakeup here. Replay's loading on our screen right now.
Looks like Cam just got a little tight out of the corner, chased it up the track, and a little bit of contact with Bryson was enough to kick off this entire ordeal. Like you said, he was on his side for a minute there and just sliding through the infield. Take another look at it. Kyle Amon, totally unrelated, behind them got into the wall, and then this happened. And just, again, kind of a situation where a lot of these guys didn't have anywhere to go. Brandon, I think, might have reacted to that, which caused him to just barely get into Benefield. Man, oh man, that was absolute pandemonium back there.
Now, there's a question that I have, and I obviously haven't seen anybody up front do it, but caution laps do not count, and we do have extra tires. At least I think some of these guys have tires. We have 3 sets. So theoretically, there should be an extra set, and if you pit when caution laps don't count, you retain your position, right? So wouldn't it be a gimme to come to pit road? Unless I'm missing something?
I think you still sacrifice track position. I think it's just that it does not progress the lap counter as far as scoring is concerned, but position does change appropriately. Also, I want to point out, through all of that wrecking and chaos, the main, I would say, benefactor of all of that is Benefield. With that car that looks like it's been through a composting machine, he's up into 3rd. I don't know how, but he is back on the podium in spite of the damage. And with the speed he's had tonight, I don't know. Maybe he's going to make a lunge for it. What a comeback it's been. And also, one thing to point out now is he's going to be behind these 2 teammates that, they had a really good start last time, Corey. They really synchronized and got that restart just the way they wanted it. But can lightning strike twice? Can they do that again?
I mean, it all depends ultimately how the leader starts the race off. We haven't really seen much variation in how these races are firing off. So if Hoytsman does go at the earliest moment, it's not really going to give any opportunity for lightning to strike twice, I don't think, because everybody's going to be expecting it. So ultimately, it's kind of a shuffle down effect. If I was Hoytsman, I might consider kind of, shaking it up a little bit and trying to make a different restart strategy, and that'll kind of, trickle down through the rest of the field. But we'll see what he does choose to do.
Now, another question to think about here in regards to this restart is a lot of times, if you got a teammate starting alongside you and you're in a private team chat, nobody else can hear you, you'll count down your teammate. You'll say, I'm going to go in 3, 2, 1, and then that way you both get the exact same start. Nobody else is expecting it except for your teammate. So you kind of give yourselves an advantage there. But we're on lap 46 out of 50. There is no time to waste to try and help your teammates, I don't think. Does our leader, Lucas Hoytsma, count his teammate down, or does he try to catch him off guard too?
At this point, and I know this from prior experience with a teammate, I used to have a teammate who we were really competitive at Martinsville together, and we would do that same thing. We would count down restarts at Martinsville. You know how difficult it is to get to the bottom there. You want to help your teammate out. But there came a lap in the race where it's like, I love you, bro, but I don't love you that much. I got to do what I have to do for myself. And at least in my opinion, I think we're at that point right now. So if it happens, they're really good friends, but I would definitely be writing off deals at this point.
Absolutely. And, earlier, Corey, you kind of asked the question. I kind of forgot to answer it, but you were talking about the disciplinary possibility.
Don't make me say it again.
In this race. I almost messed up saying it. But you were asking, what is the consequences of rough driving or doing something a little bit chaotic here? And obviously there are rules. We're not going to have anybody going backwards and doing stupid stuff out here. But as far as just aggressive driving and making bold moves, I think things are a little bit more lax here in this exhibition race. I don't think anybody's going to be suspended for overestimating their own car's ability by any means. So Adam Benefield, taking the outside lane here with the choose cone, is going to move himself up into the outside lane. You want to talk about somebody ready to make aggressive moves and potentially take some risks? Well, I think it's going to be that 83.
See how much that damage does hinder him, but we'll see indeed what is happening here. Is Hoytsma pulling down to the apron here. I'm not too sure what is going on.
He was given an EOL, and I'm not entirely certain why.
Bunch of people.
It's been removed. I believe maybe the EOL was supposed to go to Robert for one reason or another. I'm not sure what infraction he had.
Yep, and our caution has been extended. Yeah, so Hoitzma was given the EOL there, and well, again, just kind of shuffling about. Stuff happens, but we'll make sure everybody is in the right order. And one more race lap, and we'll fire him off this next time by.
I'm still not entirely certain what Robert did wrong there, unless he drove over where the choose cone would be, and thus got penalized. I'm not 100% certain.
If you could drive over the choose cone that isn't painted, that is impressive. Unless there's some arbitrary mark in the track, I personally don't know, but
Yeah, I'm not too certain either. It's a weird situation, but that kind of leaves Lucas stranded. No more potential help from any teammates. He's all on his own. He's got Adam Benefiel and Dustin Hall, both drivers that are not teammates in the league, but both affiliated with the wider esports team of Team Conti. So those guys, they're going to have some good chemistry here, maybe work together if need be. So Lucas is going to have to play some defense here. Preston McRae and Brandon Pierce right behind them. Man, I'm curious to see what Benefield does. He got himself to the front row with that choose cone. Let's see. Base car is going to make that left-hand turn. Only a handful of laps remain. Lucas as the control car out and away. Adam Benefield, great restart. Doesn't spin his tires. Preston McRae, on the other hand, does get some wheel spin. That's going to force a three-wide situation a little bit further back with Jason Taylor as well as Neil Pearson. And that's going to sort itself out. Those guys were able to handle it pretty well. Bryson trying to make a move now on the number 12. And up front, Adam Benefiel tailing Lucas Hoitzma. He is falling back through 1 and 2. Let's see what he's got in 3 and 4. Can he close this gap or keep it even? Looks like he's going to drop back even more. Just doesn't have the corner exit speed, possibly as a result of that damage. And Dustin Hall, not with a lot of momentum either. But look at this, Corey. Neil Pearson up to 4th. He's made some phenomenal moves here. And he seems to have the car that could make a pass on Dustin.
yeah, our transfer driver from the Open trying to make his presence known here in the feature, and we'll see if maybe he can get third, maybe even second. But yeah, to the point of the 83. We see it on super speedways where damage kind of gets masked by traffic in the draft, and unfortunately for Benefield, now he's in just wide open space, and any disadvantage is going to be very prevalent. Big wiggle there off of 4 for him. So now Hoitzma has about 3/4 of a second, and as long as we can go to that white flag without a caution, he's going to be sitting pretty.
On the field being thinned out a little bit more does reduce the chances of a caution. Robert Miller, despite getting that EOL, I should point out, is all the way back up into 5th. Just made that move, and that's going to put him just a little ways behind Neil Pearson, closing the gap even more. But as they cross the line, it is the final lap of the race for Lucas Hoitzma. Just 4 more corners and 1 time around the track for the 07 machine. He's never won a points race in the league, but tell you what, winning an exhibition race doesn't hurt. So let's see if he can bring this home. Adam Benefiel, Dustin Hall going to battle it out for second behind him, but not close enough to make a move. Coming through 3 and 4 for the final time tonight in the All-Star. It is Lucas Hoitzma who's going to be the All-Star here at Chicagoland. He takes the checkered flag.
A great run by Hoitzma. Again, I think going from the transfer spot in the Open and getting himself into the feature, kind of having the best run you can possibly have in that regard. And Benefield, Miller, Taylor, and Hixenbaugh round out your top 5. Kind of a little less eventful of a 10-lap dash, we thought, only because of all those wrecks that we had. But that's what happens when the money's on the line. You can see a little bit of door tap between the 83, the 15, the 07. Everyone's just kind of acknowledging each other and saying congratulations.
Man, the 07 being a bit of a punching bag out there, getting some celebratory shoves from the other guys. And it looks like Robert's going to follow him down to the start-finish line. It'll be a team celebration. We'll see if we can do a better job this week. Robert Miller won last week for LMM, and we had a bit of a team celebration that, well, it was less than calculated, we'll say, Corey. We had one guy doing a Polish victory lap. One guy was doing burnouts. One guy was just kind of sitting in the infield. We weren't really ready to win, we'll say that.
A hodgepodge of celebration, but Hoitzma is definitely lighting him down there and doing a good job as such. He will be your 2022, I didn't think about what year it was, 100% Cup Series All-Star winner, and we'll see if maybe the All-Star win will light the fire he needs and get himself the his first points-paying race in due course, as we do have our results on the screen.
And the final running order for the 2022 All-Star Race in the 100% Cup Series, Lucas Hoytsma takes the win. Adam Benefiel with an impressive comeback. I mean, you cannot say enough about Benefiel. I said it earlier. This is a guy who you never know what he's going to bring. From the beginning of the race to the end of the race, it's just exciting to watch what he can do, and he's going to bring it home in P2. Third place is going to go to Robert Miller after getting that EOL. Works his way through the rest of the field. Jason Taylor looks like he's being scored in fourth. I believe some sort of penalty must have been served to Dustin Hall, as it's showing him a little bit further back. But Jason Taylor, Bryce Nixonbaugh, Neil Pearson, Kyle Ammon, Jason Baker, Preston McRae, Cameron Stone, Dustin Hall, and Brandon Pierce, Cody Bird, RJ Root, Kevin Steele, Ryan Samuelson did not make the cut past that's the drivers that did not make it out of the first stage. So that'll do it for our running order. And now it is going to be time to have a word with our top three finishers. We'll start out with third place, Robert Miller. Robert Miller, you got a copy?
Gotcha.
Well, Robert, it was an impressive run all night long and just a fun race to watch. Looked like you guys were all having a blast out there. The last restart was pretty eventful for you. You got an EOL. We weren't really sure what the cause of that was in the booth. We were a little confused, but regardless, you sliced your way up through the field, got yourself a podium. Walk me through the end of this race, man.
I mean, the car had speed and everybody else was wrecked out. That's where that all happened. And that choose cone bit, I wasn't too committed to either or, and that's where that came from.
Okay, so I had theorized that you maybe drove over the virtual choose cone that doesn't actually exist, and I guess I was close. But yeah, a phenomenal run tonight, and again, just can't say enough about it. Now, obviously, going forward in the season, you're not going to be running every single race. You've got some, you got some stuff on your plate, so to speak. But how do you feel about the future of the league? Maybe coming back when you can to run some races and kind of helping run the team.
The league's looking great. It's getting more and more talent every year, and it's getting closer to racing every year too. That's for sure. And it makes it a lot of fun. And so I definitely plan on racing next year, and definitely stay in part of Alabama. That's my plan. Hopefully, as long as my co-owner wants me around. Yeah, just having fun. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Now, we saw you break loose a few times out there, especially early on in the race. Everybody was. I mean, it seemed like those cars were just absolutely wicked loose out there, getting squirrely at every opportunity. I saw one moment you had with Bryce and Nixonbaugh. You got loose in front of them. You came across the race and said, we're all right. But were these cars a bit of a handful out there?
Yeah. Since the field inverted after that first stage, I loosened the car up a little bit just so I can get through traffic better. And I definitely did that, but it also made it, once I got any kind of cleaner on the nose, it was a handful of fun, especially on the bottom. But it made it fun. It made it slice the track well, and I was able to make my way through the field pretty easy.
All right. Well, again, congratulations on the podium. Before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to shout out?
Yes, the paint scheme is from Splash & Go Graphics, which is Cosman Ionishu. He's an awesome guy. He's fantastic. He's on Trading Paints, so if you want an awesome paint, go grab one of his Splash & Go Graphics paints from there. So big thanks to him. It is a tribute to my father, who runs the Max Dog's Kitchen. It's a local eatery back where I grew up. It's totally paint scheme dedicated to him and his food truck. So that's what tonight was all about. It's a fun night, and I wanted to give him a good paint scheme for it. So shout out to my pops. And also shout out to Logitech G Altus Esports. They allow me to do what I do. I'm glad to be part of them, and we're rocking it this year, so we'll keep it up.
All right. Well, thanks for your time, Robert, and we'll put you back and let you celebrate the good run.
Yeah, buddy.
Third place, Robert Miller out of the booth, and now I believe Corey is caught up with Adam Benefiel.
All right, Adam, you get a second place here tonight. I know you had that damage on you, and I know that probably inhibited you a little bit towards the end of the race, but kind of talk about the beginning. We had you starting up on the front row and kind of fell back on that first segment. Was that handling related, or were you kind of playing the invert there at the end of the first stage?
God, no. I listened to my Team Conti teammate, freaking Bryson Hicksonball, and he handed me something that was supposed to be really good, and it was trying to kill me for 30 laps. So, won't make that mistake twice. But we survived it, and then we had a little break, and we played a switcheroo game, and I took Dustin's setup, and it was a different ball game, and you know, basically what it boils down to is I can hit everything in the field, and all this talent, I'm just able to still finish second. You know, it's just it's crazy that I'm this good, and you know, I really elevate everybody at Team Conti to a whole nother level. If it wasn't for me, they probably wouldn't be who they are.
Yeah, I guess the damage on the card, it doesn't matter what you do to it because you'll still get on the podium either way. But just talk about, I mean, obviously you talked about having the setup not being ideal and you're not too happy about what you were given to start the race at least. But talk about some of the prep work that was done going into it. We know obviously you guys follow the real iRacing schedule, gives you a little week of practice. And obviously you don't really have that week of official practice to build up for this race. So what was your mindset heading into the week? And was that setup better for you in testing, or did you kind of come in, last second for this?
No, we started at 4 o'clock this afternoon. We just threw something together and kind of wing it. We did it last year too, and I felt like we should have won Texas. We were really fast, really fast at Texas, and got into a wreck there, and then but yeah, we threw something together this afternoon, and it felt good. But when you put cars around it, it doesn't feel good. It's crazy how that works out sometimes. But it was terrible, and then I messed up and got loose out of 4, and hit the wall, and then I took Dustin out with me. But we were able to get the damage fixed. Cam and Bryson played patty cake down the back straightaway, and Pierce, I mean, I was trying to miss 2 cars sliding back up across racetrack, and he gave me nowhere to go. So unfortunately, I turned him. But you'll have that on those big jobs.
Luckily, I mean, carnage aside, bad setup aside, hard feelings aside, it's all a fun race. We'll go back to real racing next week at the World 600, the longest race on the schedule. We'll see what you can do there. But who do you want to give a shout out to for your second place in the All-Star tonight?
Filter Time for being on the car, EPI Setups, WR1 Sim Chassis, Apex Designs. Friggin' just, that is, even though it's beat to all heck and back, that is still a sexy car. Kevin really knows how to paint them. Like I said, everybody at Team Conti, all the LDR guys for being too scared to show up tonight. LMM or L, whatever the freak their name is, good job to them. And then y'all for broadcasting it and putting up with my freaking bullcrap interviews.
All right. Well, we'll let you go, man. Congrats again, and we'll be talking to you soon.
All right, bud.
And Andre has caught up. First off, I got to say, best interview in iRacing. But Andre has caught up with our all-star winner tonight, Lucas Oitzma.
Lucas Oitzma, you got a copy?
I got you, man.
Well, Lucas, you did it right, brother. You went out there, you led a lot of laps, you played the defense about as good as you could play it, and came down to it. You took that checkered flag. And walk me through your night, man.
I don't even know where to start. First, we start in the open, not even in the race yet. Going in there, I don't have a handle of the car. We made an adjustment 30 seconds before the race started. Tried my best. I won stage 1. I'm feeling good. Came into the big race with confidence, and started falling back early, so I figured, why not blow a spark plug wire and try to get the pole for the start. And, started third and just tried to hold it. Me and RJ had a great battle there. And, you wouldn't think fuel would come into the play, but near the end of the race, I didn't take fuel on that pit stop. And we're hitting about 5 to go after those few yellows. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, Robert, I got about half a lap of fuel to the good. So one more yellow and that would have been a completely different race.
I mean, I would imagine that fuel situation was pretty anxiety-inducing, and that's only compounded by those cautions that had to be pretty pretty nerve-wracking. I mean, you knew you had pace, but it seemed to be more long-run pace. Once you got that car underneath you, you were able to kind of cut through the field methodically, and ultimately the race came down to a pair of very, very short stints. What was going through your mind when you were coming to the green with just a few laps to go and a hungry field behind you?
Well, I got to hand it to iRacing to give me the lead over Bryson. I think that helped a lot with it. But the fact that, I don't know, Robert going sent into the back, I didn't see what happened there. Unfortunate for him. He gets sent to the back. I got a damaged car behind me, next to me. I was feeling pretty good, but I had a few moments coming toward the end of the race. That car was still all over the place.
And you know, recently you've had a lot of momentum, a lot of good finishes so far this year, more podiums than I could really count, and now taking home an all-star win. What does this do for the momentum going forward and the confidence in that 07 machine?
Oh, it sparks a fire. It's one thing to get third, fourth, but it's another thing to get out there on top. It shows that we can get it done, even if it was a smaller field. There's a lot of top dogs in here, and I'm feeling pretty good going into the 600 next week.
Absolutely. And speaking of that, obviously, longest race of the season, it's going to be a completely different challenge than most of the races that we're used to in this season. What's the game plan going forward?
I'm going to try to do what I normally do, just try to keep the car clean. I think I've been pretty good about that this year. Really only, I think, one DNF, so I think that's my strong suit, is keeping a clean car, getting to the end of the race, and I think that's going to be the key to the race next week.
Absolutely. Well, again, Lucas, congratulations on the win. Phenomenal job out there. Is there anybody that you'd like to shout out or thank?
Just Labor 12, always got him in the car, CTC, and most of all, LMM and Robert for building this absolute rocket ship this week.
All right. Again, congratulations. We're going to let you go celebrate, and talk to you next week.
Thanks, Matt. See ya.
Race winner out of the booth, and that is going to conclude post-race interviews. Corey, it was one heck of a night out there. Obviously, going into this night, I think it was kind of an unknown. You know, we got a format that we're not used to. A lot of the spectators and even some of the drivers and, well, us up in the booth, we didn't really know what to expect, but what we got was just a phenomenal showing from these guys. I think this 1.5 mile track and the slightly older surface, like you mentioned, it's not a super smooth track, a lot of bumps. It was a driver's track, and I think when you combine that with these short stints where these guys were able to just go all out and not worry about tire conservation or not worry about fuel, unless your name is Lucas Weitzman, then maybe you're worrying about fuel. But I just think that this race, the track and car combo, phenomenal.
Yeah, definitely that is the case. That's why they chose to run it here. I mean, we could have ran it at Texas. I mean, sim or real life. I don't know anybody who's a fan of the All-Star at Texas, so definitely a good choice to run it here. And we saw a good show. The channel name was definitely put to good use because we were 3 wide, especially for the first half of the second segment. We were 3 wide the entire time, and obviously a couple wrecks towards the end did thin the field out, but still a great run. And it's always good to see a driver transfer from the open and then win the whole thing. That's definitely going to be a motivation for 07, and we'll see what he's going to be able to do going forth with that momentum.
Absolutely. And speaking of going forward, we talked about it in the interview, but for those of you at home, next race is going to be the Coke 600 longest race of the season at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and it's going to be right here on 3 Wide TV. I think we have a pretty good track record of our Coke 600s being interesting, so to speak. We've had some highlights that I think are still talked about to this day in our Coke 600 races. So I'm going to go ahead and make a prediction and say that next week won't disappoint either. So tune in if you so choose. If you're looking forward to some good racing, we'll be here for bringing the action to you. But that's going to do it for our post-race coverage here at Chicagoland. Thank you guys for tuning in. I've been Andre Van Bush, joined alongside Corey Silva, and of course, producer Carlos Costa, pushing the buttons, bringing all the action to your TVs and computers. We will see you next week